Inside the tall Xinglong financial building in Yin City, Yang Chen, an employee known for his diligence, finally loses his patience. Standing before his arrogant boss, he asks why his name cannot appear on the project he worked so hard for, and why he is being denied the commission he deserves. The boss, with a look of disdain, replies that everything employees do belongs to the company, and that the company listens to him alone. The unfairness of that answer burns inside Yang's chest, and as his boss sneers at him, he realizes he cannot bear this humiliation any longer. Without hesitation, he declares that staying in such a company is foolish and storms out of the office, leaving his boss speechless. As Yang returns to his desk, his co-workers watch in shock while he begins packing his belongings into a box. One of them quietly advises him to calm down, reminding him that the boss holds all the power, while another nervously asks what he will do about his girlfriend's paralyzed father. For a brief moment, Yang hesitates and glances at the framed photo on his desk showing himself and his girlfriend smiling together in happier times. The memory cuts deep, yet his decision remains firm. He tells his colleagues that after his parents passed away, they left him a house and a car, and he plans to use the car as a taxi until he finds a better job. His voice is steady, and no one dares to stop him. With his box in his arms, he walks down to the parking lot, the echo of his footsteps marking the end of one chapter in his life. Just as he reaches his car, his phone buzzes with a message from his girlfriend. For a moment, he expects comfort, but the words on the screen shatter him. She writes that she has decided to break up and go after her dreams. Disbelief fills him as he immediately tries to call her, yet the call does not connect. Tears form in his eyes, and he wonders aloud why everything seems to fall apart at once. But after a few moments of despair, he wipes his face, breathes deeply, and tells himself that life must go on. He cleans and polishes his car until it shines, then signs up as a ride-hailing driver. Almost immediately, he receives his first order from a passenger who insists he come as quickly as possible. Determined to start fresh, he drives swiftly to the location. When he arrives and calls, a woman's voice tells him she will need 20 more minutes to get ready. The unreasonable demand irritates him, and he questions why she would order a car before being ready. Her tone turns sharp as she warns that she will complain if he cancels. Annoyed but fearless, Yang decides that he will not tolerate such arrogance and cancels the ride. A moment later, a notification appears on his phone stating that a complaint has been filed against him. He sighs in frustration, but before he can even think, a bright light fills the car. In the next instant, a beautiful woman in a Chinese-style dress materializes in the passenger seat. Her expression is calm and confident as she announces that the host has been detected and the connection condition has been fulfilled. For receiving a bad review, he is now eligible for a system reward. Yang is stunned and struggles to understand what she means. The woman explains that the system will reward him each time he receives a bad review from passengers, and that these rewards may come in various powerful forms. Realizing the strange opportunity being offered, he agrees to connect with the system. The mysterious woman leans forward, touches his lips lightly, and declares that the connection is complete. She explains that for his first bad review, he now owns 28% of the All-Island Hotel Group and must go there for dinner to claim his share. Overwhelmed by the enormity of the gift, Yang sits in silence, amazed by how extraordinary this system is. Then a new ride request appears on his phone. It is to the very same hotel. Understanding that fate has already begun to move, Yang smiles for the first time that day and accepts the order, ready to see where this strange new path will lead him. Yang Chen accepts his next ride request and drives toward the pickup location, where he sees a tall, long-legged young woman waiting by the curb. The woman, Wang Jiayi, checks the car number to confirm he is her driver, then steps inside and slams the door without a word. Yang calmly pulls onto the road and begins following the navigation toward her destination. When he glances at the rearview mirror to check traffic, the woman suddenly accuses him of spying on her. Taken aback, Yang explains that she probably does not drive, otherwise she would know he is only watching the cars behind them. His calm tone irritates her even more, and she snaps that he must be inexperienced and slow. Her arrogant words sting his pride, and to teach her a lesson, he presses the accelerator. The car begins to pick up speed, the engine roaring as they rush down the street. Startled, Wang Jiayi leans forward and demands to know what he is doing. Her voice trembles as the car goes faster and faster. Realizing she might have gone too far, She admits that she was wrong and pleads for him to stop. Her eyes fill with tears, and she grips the door handle tightly, begging for him to slow down. But Yang, still angry, keeps his gaze on the road and tells her that if they do not crash, she will leave alive. Then, with a faint smirk, he adds that he will only stop if she calls him dad. Panicking, Wang Jiai finally gives in and stammers the word he wants to hear. The moment she does, Yang eases his foot off the gas and slows the car down, satisfied that she has learned her lesson. When they arrive at the destination, the all-island hotel, he tells her calmly that she may get out. Trembling with anger and fear, Wang Jiai steps out, declaring that she will leave him a bad review and even call the police. Just as she disappears into the crowd, a glowing message appears before Yang's eyes, visible only to him. The system informs him that he has completed another mission and is rewarded with ownership of the Xing Financial Company, the very same place where he once worked and had been humiliated by his former boss. The news fills him with excitement and a sense of poetic justice. Yang enters the all-island hotel for his appointment about the share transfer. At the reception desk, he unexpectedly runs into Wang Jiai again. Seeing him there, she grows confused and angry, accusing him of following her. Yang simply smiles and remarks that her father once worked here long ago, then moves on. Showing the system message to the hotel staff, he is told that his seat is at table number 8 and handed the document confirming his share ownership. As he sits down, the staff brings him coffee and informs him that his meal will be served soon. While waiting, he notices Wang Jiai again, this time meeting a man named Zhang Long at a nearby table. Observing their awkward gestures, Yang realizes they are on a blind date. Before he can look away, the restaurant doors open, and a bald middle-aged man enters with 2 elegant women. One of them, Chen Xin, notices Yang and greets him politely, though her tone changes when she gets close. She reminds him that she and Fei Fei have moved on and warns him not to bother them again. Yang's reply is cold. He says he has no interest in women like them and feels pity for those who spend their days with men twice their age. Chen Xin's face flushes with anger as she slams the table. The bald man, wearing an expensive watch, asks what is happening. She forces a smile and claims everything is fine, but he remains suspicious. Walking over with Fei Fei, he subtly displays his wealth, asking who Yang is. With a calm smile, Yang answers that he is Fei Fei's ex and that they broke up today, then adds with cutting sarcasm, asking how long she has been sleeping with the man beside her. The bald man touches Fei Fei's face gently and asks if Yang's words are true. Fei Fei begins to cry softly, claiming that they broke up long ago and that Yang has been following and threatening her ever since. She insists that he even dared to come to the hotel to harass her. The man smiles reassuringly, wipes away her tears, and tells her not to cry anymore, promising that he will handle the situation. With his hands in his pockets, he walks toward Yang's table and coldly remarks that he finds it disgusting when someone harasses his girlfriend. Then, turning to a nearby waitress, he asks her to call the hotel manager. Fei Fei walks up to Yang and quietly begs him to leave before things get worse, warning that he will only bring trouble upon himself if he stays. At another table, Wang Jiai, the long-legged passenger who previously gave Yang a bad review, watches everything unfold and thinks that the situation has become completely absurd. She believes that Yang has no way to escape now. The man sitting across from her, Zhang Long, notices where she is looking and asks if she knows Yang. She replies casually that he is just a taxi driver who brought her here and starts complaining about how rude and reckless he was, even claiming that he nearly got her killed during the ride. Hearing this, Zhang becomes furious. He stands up abruptly and promises her that he will teach the driver a lesson. Wang Jiai tries to stop him, but he has already marched across the room to Yang's table. Staring at Yang with hatred, he demands to know if Yang had brought the brunette to the hotel and mocked her during the ride. Yang, unbothered, replies calmly that he did and asks what the problem is. The young man introduces himself, explaining that he is on a date with the same girl and that if Yang apologizes, he will forgive him. Otherwise, he will throw him out himself. Yang sips his coffee and asks who Zhang's father is. Zhang proudly replies that his father is the chairman of an investment company planning to invest in the all-island hotel, and if he gives the word, Yang will be blacklisted. Still calm, Yang simply smiles and tells him to go ahead and try. Just then, the hotel manager hurries over. The bald man greets him warmly and complains that he came to celebrate a girl's birthday. but her ex-boyfriend has ruined the event. He demands that Yang be kicked out. Zhang joins in, insisting that Yang bullied his date and should be removed immediately. The manager laughs awkwardly and jokes about who would dare to offend both of them at once. In perfect unison, the two men point toward Yang, who remains seated, quietly drinking his coffee. The moment the manager sees Yang's face, his expression changes. He recognizes him as the newly appointed shareholder of the hotel. Acting quickly, the manager orders the security guards to throw out both the bald man and Zhang, and to forbid them from entering again. Shocked, the two protest, reminding the manager that one supplies the hotel's food and the other represents a future investor. The manager then introduces Yang as the second largest shareholder of the all-island hotel. Everyone freezes in disbelief. Wang Jie stares wide-eyed, realizing that the man she once mocked must be wealthy and powerful. Fei Fei's heart sinks as she watches the scene unfold. Yang calmly tells the manager that the hotel no longer requires the services of the two men and asks that they be escorted out immediately. As the guards begin to remove them, Fei Fei suddenly falls to her knees before Yang, apologizing tearfully and insisting that nothing ever happened between her and the bald man. Chen Xin beside her sneers, accusing Fei Fei of being greedy and calling herself pure in comparison. Yang watches them argue with detached amusement, finding their quarrel meaningless. The bald man, still being dragged away, tries to defend himself by saying he didn't know Fei Fei already had a boyfriend and that he never meant to cause trouble. Yang sets his coffee cup down and glances toward the manager. Irritated by the delay, he asks why those two are still here. The manager nods quickly and orders the guards to remove them at once. As they are led out, the bald man keeps shouting that it was all a misunderstanding, but Yang simply leans back in his chair, silent and satisfied. Yang sits calmly at the table while the hotel manager leans toward him, whispering that Zhang is the son of the chairman of an investment group. But Yang shows no trace of hesitation. He tells the manager firmly that as long as he is here, the hotel does not need their investments, and asks why he should fear anyone. His quiet authority leaves no room for argument. The manager straightens up immediately and orders that Zhang's name be added to the blacklist, forbidding him from ever entering any hotel in the group again. Zhang grows furious and tries to resist, shouting that a shareholder and an investor are not the same thing, but his protests are ignored. As Zhang fumes, he turns toward Wang, trying to save face. He invites her to leave and have dinner somewhere else, pretending to act like a gentleman. Watching this, Yang immediately notices that Zhang has feelings for Wang and intends to take her away out of pride, not affection. Amused yet slightly competitive, Yang decides to make sure Zhang does not get what he wants. When the couple begins to walk away, Yang rises from his chair and calls out to Wang. As he walks toward her, he picks a delicate flower from a vase that stands beside the corridor. Offering it to her with a gentle smile, he apologizes for teasing her earlier in the taxi and invites her to sit and chat with him at his table. Wang hesitates for a moment. It is, after all, a blind date, and she starts to think that perhaps sitting with a man who carries influence might not be a bad choice. Finally, she nods slightly and accepts the flower, walking back toward Yang's table. Seeing this, Zhang loses control. His face turns red as he shouts at Wang, asking if she has any idea what she is doing. He reminds her that he only got into this mess because he wanted to protect her. But Wang, calm yet firm, replies that he acted only for his own pride and that she never asked for his help. Her words sting. Unable to accept her rejection, Zhang threatens her, warning that she will regret staying with this man. Yang steps closer to her and gently places a reassuring hand on her shoulder, smiling sweetly as he tells her that everything will be fine. His calmness contrasts sharply with Zhang's anger. He seats the girl beside him and tells her not to worry, promising that if that fly Zhang causes any more trouble, he will handle it himself. Zhang, blinded by fury, suddenly raises his hand, intending to strike Wang, but in a flash Yang catches his wrist mid-air, his expression turning cold, asking, how dare he raise his hand against a woman? The manager and security rush to the scene, quickly ordering Zhang's removal. Dragged away, Zhang yells that his father will hear about this and take revenge. Unbothered, Yang fills 2 glasses with red wine and hands one to Wang. He smiles and introduces himself properly, and she does the same, promising to delete her bad review so they can start over. Laughing lightly, Yang suggests she leave the review as a memory of their meeting. They clink glasses, marking a new beginning. Nearby diners whisper about how bold and confident rich people are, secretly admiring the display. Wang then asks curiously about Yang's family. With a faint smile, he says that his parents passed away years ago, and that he now works as a taxi driver. She seems surprised but soon shares her own story. She comes from a small town and works in a luxury store. Life in the city is hard, so she goes on blind dates hoping to find stability. Yang appreciates her honesty, saying that everyone strives for a better life, and there's nothing shameful about that. The girl smiles warmly, touched by his understanding, and offers him another drink. She takes a few big gulps of wine, her cheeks turning rosy as she admits that earlier in the taxi, she acted the way she did because her first date of the day had gone terribly wrong. The man had taken her to a movie and tried to kiss her without consent. Yang smiles as he watches Wang's cheeks flush with embarrassment, and he gently suggests that perhaps she behaves that way because she does not like the man from her earlier date, but Wang immediately protests, unable to understand how anyone can think about kissing someone on the very first meeting. Yang, however, reasons differently as he calmly says that it does not matter whether it is the first or 10th meeting, because what truly matters is the feeling between two people, and if that feeling exists, then even a kiss can feel right. Wang disagrees with his words because she cannot understand how anyone can want to kiss on the first date, yet her voice trembles slightly as she argues, and Yang looks at her with quiet amusement. He slowly stands up and begins to move toward her, his expression calm but his steps deliberate, while Wang watches him carefully, her heart beating faster as she wonders what he plans to do. Yang stops right in front of her and leans closer, his eyes fixed on hers, and gently lifts her chin with his fingers. Then, without giving her a chance to react, he leans forward and kisses her softly, a quick but firm kiss that leaves her frozen in surprise. Without saying anything else, he turns around and walks away, saying over his shoulder that he is staying in room 1280 before leaving the table and disappearing into the hallway. Wang remains sitting there, holding her glass of wine, her mind spinning as she tries to understand why she did not resist him. She wonders if he invited her when he mentioned his room number and then blushes deeply at her own thoughts, feeling both shy and confused. Meanwhile, Yang returns to his hotel room, still smiling faintly to himself. He takes a long, refreshing shower after the exhausting day, wraps a towel around his waist, and steps out, enjoying the quiet. Suddenly, a soft knock comes from the door. Curious and surprised, Yang opens it without getting dressed and finds Wang standing there, her face slightly flushed and her eyes uncertain. Before he can even ask why she has come, she suddenly presses herself against him and kisses him passionately. For a moment, Yang stands stunned, but when she pulls back, her face turns crimson as she stammers that she feels very hot, her hand instinctively touching her chest as if trying to cool down. Realizing that she must be drunk, Yang softly says so, yet Wang shyly reaches out, running her fingers over his chest and tracing the lines of his muscles, her breath quick and uneven as if she is fighting with her own feelings. Yang looks into her eyes and sighs as he gently lifts her into his arms, warning her that she should not blame him later for what happens. He pushes open the bedroom door with his foot and lays her carefully on the bed before leaning down to kiss her again. Wang wraps her arms around his neck, unable to hold back her emotions as their bodies press together, and the night becomes a blur of warmth and closeness under the thin blanket that covers them. The next morning, Yang wakes up in the same room, sunlight spilling across the bed, but Wang is already gone. He stretches, rubs his eyes, and notices the red mark on the white sheet, realizing with shock that she has given him her first time. On the nightstand beside the bed, he finds a small note and an envelope filled with money. In the note, Wang writes that she will return next month after she gets paid, to put him to bed again, but for now she wants him to rest and regain his strength. Yang chuckles softly, saying that this girl is truly interesting. Later, he arrives at the Xinglong Financial Building, introducing himself to the man at the entrance. Yang says that he has come to collect his belongings. The man, cheerful and respectful, shakes his hand and introduces himself as the office manager, promising to prepare everything quickly. As they walk inside, two employees whisper to each other in amazement, saying that the new boss looks very young and wondering what kind of changes will come with his arrival. The manager hands Yang a yellow folder, saying that all the necessary documents are inside and asking him to check them carefully. But Yang smiles and says there is no need, because he trusts the manager completely and will rely on his help to manage the company. Pleased by this confidence, the manager nods respectfully and calls 2 female employees who are standing nearby to come over and greet the new owner. The young women bow politely and greet Yang with smiles, while he simply nods and tells everyone to return to their work since he does not like unnecessary formality. Turning back to the manager, Yang asks casually about the people who are currently renting the 15th floor of the building. The manager sits down at the computer, types for a while, and then replies that the lease for that floor will expire by the end of the month. Yang immediately suggests that they go there to discuss the renewal of the rent in person. The manager agrees, and the 2 of them step into the elevator together. As they are going up, the manager suddenly receives a call, and Yang tells him to answer it, saying that he will go ahead first to check the floor. The manager nods and stays behind while Yang walks down the hallway alone. When Yang reaches the 15th floor, he notices a gray sign on the door that still bears the name of his old company, Xing's Financial. He walks inside confidently, looking around, and instead of greeting anyone, he says in a calm yet firm tone that everything still seems to be in place, surprising his former colleagues, who freeze at the sight of him. One of them, a man wearing glasses, approaches nervously and suggests that Yang should speak politely with the boss and the manager, because maybe they will allow him to return to his old job. But Yang shakes his head firmly, saying he has no intention of working under them again. Raising his voice, Yang calls out to his old boss, telling him to stop hiding and come out to talk face to face. The bald man steps out of his office with a scowl and asks coldly why Yang is shouting and whether he has forgotten that he is in a workplace. Yang smirks and replies that it is good the man dared to show his face because he thought the boss would be too scared to confront him. He immediately brings up the commission he never received, reminding the boss of the promise that he would get his fair share. The boss laughs mockingly and offers a ridiculous deal, saying he will pay $10,000 over 10 months if Yang makes one successful deal each month. Yang refuses instantly, saying that the agreement was for 20% of the case's profits, not a delayed payment, and demands that the boss stop pretending. The bald man sneers and asks where the proof of such an agreement is, adding with false amusement that he could also make up stories, for example claiming that Yang promised to work for free. Yang turns toward his former co-workers and asks them if they have heard such a proposal, but under the boss's glare, they all shake their heads nervously. One of them even says that Yang must have misunderstood something. Shocked and disappointed, Yang realizes that no one dares to stand up to the corrupt boss, even though they know they could be treated the same way one day. One former colleague quietly advises Yang to apologize and ask for his job back before things get worse, while the boss smiles proudly and repeats that offer, pretending to be generous. The bald man sighs dramatically and complains about how difficult it is to manage so many employees, while another worker nods in agreement, playing along. Yang, holding his phone in his hand, says with growing anger that he came to work honestly to earn money, yet now he cannot even get what he rightfully earned, and asks if anyone in the room thinks that is fair. The boss's face twists in fear when he sees the phone and realizes Yang may be recording him. He immediately shouts to one of the colleagues to close the door quickly. The frightened coworker rushes to obey, slamming the door shut, making the manager confused, who is still outside finishing his phone call. Noticing the closed door, the manager grows uneasy and starts to worry about what might be happening inside. Meanwhile, the boss glares at Yang and, with a false calmness, says that if Yang deletes the recording right now, he will let him walk out unharmed. The bald man suddenly moves his hand toward the monitor sitting on the nearby desk, and with a furious swing, he knocks it to the ground, shattering it into several pieces. He immediately turns to Yang and accuses him of breaking the computer, declaring that its cost will be deducted from his salary, as if trying to twist the situation in his favor. Yang, however, remains calm and simply lifts his phone, reminding the bald man that the recording is still running. He adds that the recording is automatically saved to the cloud, so even if he deletes it from his phone, the data will remain, which makes the boss's face turn red with anger. The co-worker who has been flattering the boss throughout the conversation suddenly rolls up his sleeves and suggests that they should first beat Yang and then force him to delete the recording. The tension rises sharply in the room, and for a moment it seems that they might actually attack him. But just then, a loud knock echoes from the door, and the sound immediately cools the boss's temper. The bald man walks to the door and opens it with a forced smile, only to find the manager standing outside. He tries to act normal and asks in surprise why the manager has personally come up, since he himself was planning to go downstairs to meet him. The manager, however, looks serious and replies that he came to see Mr. Yang, then glances around and frowns as he asks why the door was locked during office hours. The bald man freezes, confused by the question, and stammers, asking which Mr. Yang the manager is referring to. The manager points directly at our hero and says that this is Mr. Yang, the new owner of the company. Everyone in the room, including the bald boss, gasps in disbelief. The manager quickly steps inside, clearly worried that something might have happened to Yang, and apologizes for being delayed by the phone call. But Yang shakes his head with a small smile and says that his timing is perfect. The bald boss still cannot process what he has just heard and asks the manager to repeat what he said. The manager explains patiently that Mr. Yang is now the owner of the entire building, having purchased it for $2 billion. The room falls completely silent as the employees exchange shocked glances, unable to understand why their former co-worker, who had been treated unfairly, would return here as the boss. One of the mean colleagues nervously asks the manager if there has been some mistake, but the manager's voice turns cold as he snaps that he obviously knows who owns the building and does not need anyone questioning him. Realizing the truth, the bald man's attitude changes instantly. He forces a smile, reaches out his hand to shake Yang's, and admits that he was wrong before, saying that he should indeed be punished for his behavior. Trying to save himself, he offers to double Yang's salary and forget about the whole misunderstanding. The manager overhears this and raises an eyebrow, asking if Yang really used to work here and was not paid properly. He then reminds the bald man that their lease agreement includes a clause requiring them to act in good faith, and if they fail to do so, the contract can be terminated and they will have to pay triple rent as compensation. Smiling slightly, Yang plays the recording on his phone, where the boss can be heard telling him to work for free. The bald man's face turns pale as he quickly begs to forget the past and offers to pay triple the commission to make things right. Yang, however, shakes his head and says he only wants what rightfully belongs to him, nothing more, nothing less. He then turns to leave, telling the manager that he can handle the matter as he sees fit. The boss panics and shouts for him to wait, asking why Yang wants to destroy him when he has already admitted defeat. Yang stops briefly, glances over his shoulder and replies that he never gives his enemies another chance, so the man should simply step aside. Desperate, the bald boss pleads again, saying that they should talk things through, but Yang refuses to listen. The boss turns to his staff and promises $50,000 to anyone who helps him seize Yang's phone, yet no one moves. Everyone sits silently at their desks, avoiding his eyes. In frustration, the bald man doubles the offer to $100,000, shouting that someone must take the phone away from him. Yang laughs and asks if he truly believes anyone would side with him after witnessing everything he has done. Meanwhile, standing near the door, the manager discreetly grips his own phone tighter, dials a number, and in a quiet voice asks security to come to the 15th floor immediately, knowing that things could turn violent at any moment. 10 minutes later, two people hurry toward the 15th floor, and the two female employees who had been working downstairs on the first floor look puzzled and slightly anxious because they do not understand why they have been summoned so urgently. When they arrive, they notice the bald man standing in the middle of the room surrounded by security guards, and the manager sternly asks who would dare to lay a hand on Mr. Yang, his tone making it clear that no one should even think of challenging the new boss. The bald man, now drenched in sweat, nervously wipes his face with a handkerchief, his hands trembling as he realizes the gravity of his situation. Yang remains calm and says that he will leave everything to the manager's discretion, trusting him to handle the matter properly. The manager nods and assures Yang that he will take care of everything fairly. Turning to his former colleagues, Yang tells them to take what they are rightfully owed before their boss's company goes bankrupt. And as soon as he says this, the employees begin voicing their long-held complaints. They speak of how the bald man never paid them for overtime and how he forced them to engage in questionable business dealings just to keep their jobs. The same colleague who had earlier wanted to beat Yang now steps forward and loudly declares that he always hated the boss but never dared to speak against him, fearing he would lose his position. Watching him change sides so quickly, Yang cannot help but feel amazed by how easily people can shift their loyalties when the tables turn. Soon, the door of the office with Xing's modest nameplate is covered with bright red seals as the manager officially shuts it down, and the bald boss, now packing his belongings with shaking hands, glares at Yang and threatens that he will get his revenge one day. Yang simply replies that the boss has no one to blame but himself for everything that has happened. He then turns back to his colleagues and tells them that he plans to open his own advertising agency, and if they are interested, they can join him there. The group immediately brightens up, and many of them eagerly express their desire to work with him again, praising him for his fairness and courage. However, when Yang's gaze falls upon the same colleague who once threatened to hit him, his expression hardens, and he firmly says that he has no intention of hiring someone who once stood by his enemy's side. The man falls to his knees, begging to be given another chance, promising to testify against their former boss in any legal matter, but Yang shakes his head and replies that he sees no point in working with someone who behaved like a loyal dog to his corrupt employer. Without another word, Yang kicks the man out, making it clear that he has no tolerance for betrayal. Afterward, he turns to Xu Xiaoli, one of his trusted former colleagues, and formally transfers control of the new company to her, announcing that she will act as the temporary manager. He tells everyone to take half a month off and to contact Xu if they have any questions during this period. Hearing this, Xu Xiaoli becomes flustered and admits nervously that she has no managerial experience and fears she might ruin everything, but Yang gently reassures her that feeling this way is completely normal when starting something new. Encouraged by his words, she straightens up, smiles, and promises that she will do her best to meet his expectations. The entire group of employees then bows to Yang, thanking him sincerely for standing up for them and changing their futures within just 1 hour. They say their warm goodbyes as Yang leaves the office, their voices echoing with respect and gratitude. Once again, he finds himself in the underground parking lot of the financial company. Looking around, he smiles faintly and mutters, "He is done here. It's time to get back to work." He walks toward his car, opens the door, and slides behind the wheel. A new order pops up on his car-hailing app, located only 500 meters away. With a small grin, Yang presses the gas pedal and speeds off toward his next ride. On the street ahead, two people are waiting, a young man and a woman, and as he approaches, he realizes that the woman looks strangely familiar. When she turns toward him, Yang instantly recognizes her as Wang Lixin, his former classmate. The girl opens the car door and both passengers sit in the back seat. As soon as she looks at him closely, Wang Lixin's eyes light up with recognition and she greets him cheerfully, while Yang, slightly surprised yet intrigued, wonders who the man walking beside her might be. Wang Lixin answers easily that the young man beside her is her boyfriend, Zhang Jingkun, and she introduces Yang to Zhang as the best student from their institute while she coyly mentions how many girls once admired him, which prompts Zhang to grin and ask Yang if he is truly that popular with the girls. Their classmate eagerly confirms his popularity and then sighs regretfully that Yang once had a girlfriend, so many of them missed their chance, while she half jokes and half asks if Yang and that girlfriend ever planned to marry, making the air inside the taxi grow strangely small as Yang quietly announces that they have already broken up, and the woman in the back immediately asks if he regrets refusing so many girls at the institute, to which Yang thinks briefly of those past refusals and answers that he no longer remembers all the incidents, and if any words then sounded rude, he offers a simple apology. The classmate clings closer to Zhang and declares she does not regret anything because, thanks to her choices, she avoids a miserable life like the one she imagines Yang now leads, hinting sharply that he is merely a driver now, and another passenger even accuses him of having humiliated her once, which makes Yang pause and then shrug off the accusation since memory can play tricks and people often exaggerate when they feel wounded. Zhang, trying to be helpful and show off a future, invites Yang to quit the taxi and join his advertising company, explaining that it would be easy to arrange thanks to his connections, and Wang Lixin brightens at the idea, but Yang refuses with the calm certainty of someone who likes his present work and opens the window to enjoy the city air. Wang Lixin immediately complains about the heat and asks him to turn on the air conditioning, and Yang points out that the ride request does not specify air conditioning and suggests, with a faint smile, that she either say a few kind words or switch it on herself if she wishes. Zhang snaps that if it were not for his girlfriend, he would not be so patient, and he demands the air be switched on at once. But Wang Lixin worries that his shouting could distract the driver and cause an accident, so she pleads for calm, while another classmate implores Yang to close the window and turn on the AC and promises she will forget the unpleasant ride and will not leave a bad review if he does. Yang, however, states plainly that he is not afraid of bad reviews, and when Zhang loses patience and screams for him to stop, Yang slams the brakes without warning, causing Zhang to leap out, kick the car's fender, and shout that he will file a complaint. But Yang simply drives away, leaving Zhang waving angrily and panting under the scorching sun as he realizes they stand on a bridge where taxis cannot legally stop and where calling another car proves difficult. As the distance grows, Yang's phone pings with a system notification that delights him. 2 million for a new bad review, and he smiles wryly at the thought of how uncomfortable it must be to be stranded on a bridge while the sun beats down. Meanwhile, Zhang grabs his phone and opens the group chat where their classmates gather, and the same girl who rode with him starts a conversation condemning Yang, while others pile on, shocked and judgmental, wondering why he works as a taxi driver again. When Yang reaches the destination, sipping tea, he posts a short clip of the ride to the class chat and to support, explaining that he left because the ride asked for unreasonable things, and almost instantly the tide turns. The classmates begin to ridicule and expose the passenger's selfishness, calling her shallow and arrogant, and Zhang, seeing the flood of comments, flies into a rage and vows to ruin Yang, even plotting to lure him to a party where they will make him look bad, while Wang Lixin clings to Zhang, pleased and restless about the trouble she thinks she can cause. With a quick, precise motion, Yang throws his empty coffee cup into the trash, and as he checks his phone he notices an invitation to dinner from that same former classmate who once mocked him. So he smiles faintly and replies that whether he will go or not depends entirely on his mood that day. Squinting under the scorching afternoon sun, he imagines that couple he once left stranded on the bridge still walking along that same road, sweating under the unbearable heat, and the thought amuses him for a brief moment before the weather suddenly shifts. Heavy rain begins to pour, drenching the streets in minutes, but Yang continues to work, his focus steady as always, and when he reaches his next destination, he calls the passenger to let her know he has arrived. A woman answers the phone and introduces herself as Miss Zhang, asking anxiously how she is supposed to reach the car in such terrible rain. Yang calmly tells her to wait in her place and promises to come for her. He grabs an umbrella from the back seat, one he always keeps ready for situations like this, and jogs through the downpour until he spots her. Approaching with a polite smile, he asks if she is his passenger, but instead of answering pleasantly, Miss Zhang frowns and complains that there is too much water on the ground and she cannot walk through it. Without missing a beat, Yang says he offers no special service for the disabled, which makes the woman gasp in offense before she points to her glittering shoes and declares that they are extremely expensive and cannot be ruined by water, adding that most men would gladly carry her in their arms. Yang, however, remains calm and only suggests that she take the umbrella and walk to the car on her own. Annoyed, Miss Zhang snatches the umbrella from his hands, calling him stupid, and storms toward the car. Once inside, she immediately begins to complain, threatening that she will give him a terrible review if he dares treat her like that again, but Yang simply asks her to buckle up and drives on, ignoring her tantrum. The rain grows heavier, thundering on the roof as they approach her destination, and when Yang stops, she again refuses to get out, saying that the water outside will dirty her shoes. Yang sighs and reminds her that he is a driver, not a helicopter pilot, and he cannot fly her to the door, but she refuses to listen, warning that she will leave him another bad review if he doesn't drive closer. He replies that he does not care about bad reviews, and when she still refuses to move, he calmly switches off the engine, steps out with his umbrella, and tells her she may stay there as long as she likes, because he is going to have a snack. Waving casually, he walks away through the rain, leaving her fuming. Moments later, Miss Zhang steps out, screaming that she will sue him, but Yang passes by without even glancing at her, gets back into his car, and drives off. As he moves down the flooded road, he deliberately steers into a large puddle, sending a wave of muddy water splashing all over her expensive clothes and shoes. Laughing softly, he shakes his head, thinking that there will always be people like her, arrogant, spoiled, and blind to reason. Feeling thirsty, Yang reaches for his thermal mug and realizes with annoyance that it is empty. But before he can complain aloud, a familiar sight appears in the passenger seat. A graceful girl in a Chinese dress, the system spirit, who tells him cheerfully that for this new bad review, he is receiving a reward: rare tea made from the leaves of the mother tree. Yang chuckles in disbelief and takes her chin playfully, asking why there is only 50 grams of it, and she smiles, explaining that this tea is so precious that it cannot even be bought with money. Yang stares in disbelief at the tiny packet of tea in his hand when he reads the price, 10,000 for a small bundle, and because the scent is intoxicating and he now owns 50 such packages after the system reward, he decides to open one and taste it, which is how he learns that the flavor lives up to the price, rich and floral and strangely calming. And while he sips the cup, the system flashes another message across his mind announcing that he just received a new bad review and that the reward this time is a villa with paperwork to be delivered soon by courier, which makes him do quick mental math and realize that even a modest villa easily tops 500,000, so he wonders aloud to himself who could have been so eager to punish him that they would unknowingly change his life. Finishing the tea, Yang puts the mug back into the cup holder and only then notices a red-haired beauty in a short dress bounding toward his car. And when she jumps into the front seat, she introduces herself as Wang Chunyi, while the man who follows, shorts clinging to him and face flushed, identifies himself as Zhang Hengji and asks in confusion what she thinks she is doing, and Chunyi waves a fat roll of cash and declares that she is ready to pay in cash if necessary. Yang explains patiently that ride-hailing works by orders through the app and that he does not accept street hire like a private driver, but Chunyi gets angry and snaps that he can just drive the car because she wants to ride in that car today. And at that moment, a burly guy in shorts starts pounding on the passenger window and demanding that Yang open the door. Chunyi spits out a threat that she will bite him to death if he dares touch her, and Yang pauses to ask whether she knows this man, to which she replies hastily that she does not, while the man screams that she is obviously his girlfriend and that everyone can see it, and Chunyi retorts that they met for the first time today on a blind date and that his claim is a lie, which only makes Hengji shout louder that the girl's family owes him money and that she has to settle the debt. Chunyi turns toward Yang with desperate eyes and accuses him of becoming an accomplice if he hands her over, and Yang, who wants no part of a family feud, suggests that she call the police because he will not step between them, but she launches into a stream of insults, calling him useless and idiot, while Hengji kicks at the car and yanks the handle as he demands that Yang open up. Yang keeps his cool and says that if her father started the problem, then her family should fix it, but he will call the police and refuse to take sides, and when Hengji grows aggressive and reaches a hand through the half-open window to pull Chunyi out by her hair, he vows that he will drag them both out of town and make them pay for what they owe. The tension snaps like a wire and Yang, seeing the danger, inserts the key, starts the engine, and announces that he does not care who Hengji claims to be. He steps on the gas and the car surges away while Hengji races alongside, shouting promises to find them and threats of revenge. The car moves quickly along the road while Chunyi keeps thanking Yang again and again, her voice still shaking from fear. But Yang stays calm and tells her that he is not interested in her and will drop her nearby so she can call another taxi to go where she needs. Before she can reply, a black car suddenly drives in front of them and blocks the way, and Yang quickly presses the brake as the tires make a loud screeching sound. Hengji inside the black car shouts angrily and threatens to kill Yang if he does not stop, and Chunyi becomes scared because she knows that if the man catches them, she will be in big trouble. Yang holds the steering wheel tightly and turns it fast, trying to avoid crashing, while the car slides a little because of the wet road. Hengji car follows closely behind, its engine roaring, but Yang stays calm and drives faster, changing directions quickly. A moment later, the black car loses control, slips to the side, and turns over on the road, making a loud noise. Chunyi looks behind and starts laughing loudly because the man chasing them has crashed his car, but Yang doesn't laugh. He just stops the car near the side of the road and tells her in a firm voice to get out of his car immediately. Chunyi touches her bright red hair and smiles proudly as if nothing happened, then says softly that he should take her home and, as a reward, she will let him have her. Hearing this, Yang becomes angry for the first time and tells her clearly that he has no interest in her or her words, and again asks her to get out of his car. She frowns, calls him a coward and a useless man, and then finally opens the door, still shouting rude words as she stands in the rain. Yang doesn't look back. He starts the car again and drives away, leaving her behind on the wet road while her voice fades in the sound of heavy rain. Instead of going back to work, Yang drives straight to his new villa, wanting to see the place that the system has given him as a reward. When he arrives, a polite man in a black suit greets him, hands him the property papers, and says that he will show him around. Yang follows him inside, looking at the beautiful rooms and big windows, and feels surprised that such a large and rich house now belongs to him just because of another bad review. He smiles to himself, thinking that luck is sometimes very strange, and decides that he will move his things here soon because the place feels perfect. Just then, his phone rings, and he answers it to hear a voice from the All Island Hotel inviting him to a meeting at 3 in the afternoon. Later, Yang reaches the hotel, apologizes for being a little late, and enters the meeting room where several men wait. One man with a mustache, Lee, is introduced as the chairman, and another named Jiang is an investor from Sky Company. They talk about new investments, but when the topic turns to Jiang's son, who insulted Yang before, he becomes serious and says that he will not forgive such behavior easily. The men try to make peace, suggesting that Jiang's son should apologize, but Yang shakes his head, says that he disagrees with Sky's investment, and quietly leaves the room, saying he still has work to do. Jiang becomes furious because he plans to invest his money, yet instead of receiving gratitude or respect, he ends up being insulted. Lee tries to calm him down, assuring Jiang that he will speak with Yang later and try to fix the situation. However, Lee still insists that Jiang's son should apologize, and Jiang finally nods, saying that he will talk to his son about it. Yang walks down to the parking lot where his car is parked, his steps slow and calm as he presses the button to turn off the alarm. Just as he reaches the car, he hears a sharp voice behind him saying, "I finally found you." When he turns around, he sees Zhang Hengji, the same man who chased him earlier in the black car, now standing there with a group of rough-looking men. Yang looks surprised and asks how he managed to find him, and Hengji replies smugly that he promised to track him down no matter where he went after taking that girl away. As he rubs his fists together and glares, Yang asks if he really wants to fight. Instead of answering, Hengji lifts a metal bat and says he doesn't want to fight. He just plans to destroy Yang's car. Before Yang can respond, all the men start attacking the car at once, swinging their iron bats with loud crashes and breaking the glass and panels apart. Calmly, Yang takes out his phone and begins recording the entire scene, saying nothing while the sound of smashing metal fills the air. Hengji sneers and says that he doesn't care how much it costs to fix the car because he just wants Yang to lose the means to make a living. Suddenly, a red sports car screeches to a stop beside them, and Wang Qiani, the same red-haired girl Yang helped earlier, jumps out in anger. She runs over, her hair wet from the night air, and shouts at Hengji, asking if he has completely lost his mind. She demands to know why he's wrecking the car since she already agreed to spend the evening with him. Hengji shouts back that he only wants to ruin Yang's mood because Yang stole her from him and broke his heart. His voice shakes with jealousy as he accuses Qiani of falling for the taxi driver and declares that he will kill her later that night. Qiani glares coldly and says that she only ever spoke to him out of obligation and that, under normal circumstances, she wouldn't even bother looking at him. Just then, another man walks into the parking lot, Zhang Long, who looks slightly bruised but composed. Curious, Yang approaches him and asks what happened. And Zhang Long admits that he came to apologize because his father insisted that he make things right. Yang smiles broadly and, to everyone's surprise, pulls Zhang Long into a friendly hug. He then asks if Zhang Long's family is wealthy, and Zhang Long confirms it confidently. Yang gestures toward Hengji, who is still clutching his bat, and asks if Zhang Long knows him. Zhang Long nods and says that his family has invested in a few of Hengji's businesses. Yang smiles thoughtfully and says that he is willing to forgive Zhang Long completely if he agrees to do one thing for him. Zhang Long looks confused and asks what he wants. Yang explains that if Zhang Long's family can lend money to Qiani's family, he will allow them to invest more in the All-Island Hotel project. Zhang Long looks stunned and asks why Yang doesn't just lend the money himself, since he clearly has enough wealth to buy an entire building. Yang laughs lightly and points to his damaged car, reminding him that he still works as a taxi driver. Zhang Long stares at him in disbelief and half-jokingly asks if Yang belongs to some secret powerful family, but Yang just smiles and tells him not to talk about it. Finally, Zhang Long agrees, saying that someone from Qiani's family can come by tomorrow to collect the money. Yang walks over to Qiani and repeats Zhang Long's promise, saying that this is help for her situation. Overwhelmed with relief, Qiani jumps up and wraps her arms and legs around him in joy. Hengji, still holding the bat, looks completely confused and demands to know why Zhang Long's family would lend money to her. Zhang Long sighs and explains that Yang is the second largest shareholder of all island, so he has no choice. The revelation shocks everyone. Hengji and his gang freeze, realizing that the man they were threatening is actually someone powerful. Seeing the shift in mood, Hengji's friends quickly drop their bats and step back, muttering nervously that they don't want any trouble. They start scolding Hengji for dragging them into this mess and making them damage such an expensive car. Feeling the pressure, Hengji takes out a cigarette and offers it to Yang as a peace gesture, saying awkwardly that if he had known Yang was the second shareholder of all island, he would never have acted this way. Yang stands in the middle of the parking lot, watching the chaos slowly settle when he asks Hengji if he really believes that things can be resolved so easily after what he has done. Before Hengji can answer, 2 police officers arrive, running toward the group and demanding to know what happened and who reported the incident. Qiani waves to them and quickly explains that her friend's car has been completely destroyed by those men. The suspicious guys instantly shift the blame onto the one who brought them there, claiming that he was the one who ordered them to smash the car. The police officer turns to Hengji, who led the group, and asks him why he destroyed someone else's property. Hengji folds his arms and introduces himself, explaining that Yang stole his girlfriend, and because of that, he decided to take revenge by wrecking his car. The officer asks him if he's willing to pay compensation for the damage, but the man arrogantly says that any compensation will only be decided by the court. The policeman, trying to reason with him, explains that intentionally damaging another person's property is a criminal offense and cannot be solved merely with money. Still, Hengji proudly mentions his father's name as if it will protect him, but the officer sternly replies that he does not care who his father is since the law applies equally to everyone, and he repeats that the man must be punished for his actions. Hengji finally gives in a little and offers to pay 100,000 as compensation, claiming that should be enough. However, Yang calmly tells him that he will not accept the offer and plans to take legal action instead. Hengji then raises the amount to 200,000, saying the car was old and not even worth that much, but Yang shakes his head, pointing toward the wrecked vehicle and saying that he is not after money but justice. Hengji scoffs, saying he doesn't care about a criminal record because his family is rich and he will never need to work anyway. Hearing this, the officers lose patience, and one of them steps forward, telling him to accompany them to the police station for questioning. A short while later, the whole group arrives at the station, and Yang finds himself sitting in a small negotiation room. The policeman introduces a middle-aged man who enters the room as the offender's father. Without wasting time, the father says that Yang is asking for too much money and insists that they can settle this privately. Yang can't help but laugh at how similar the father and son are in arrogance and replies that he is determined to take the matter to court. The father tries to change his mind by offering 500,000, but Yang grows irritated and repeats that it is not about the money. The man increases the offer again to 1 million and adds that if it weren't for the difficult financial time their company is facing, they would have dealt with him differently. Ignoring his attempt at intimidation, Yang turns to the officer and says he wants to end the discussion. The officer hands him a document to sign, confirming that he refuses mediation. The father tries to stop him, urging him to meet privately later and not to ruin his own future over such a trivial issue. Yang takes the papers and says coldly that the man has already talked enough nonsense. As he signs, he adds that he has faced far worse situations growing up, with creditors threatening him since childhood, so no amount of pressure will scare him now. Handing the document back, he looks at the man and says that they will see each other in court before walking out of the room as the furious father yells after him to come back. Leaving the police station, Yang heads straight to a real estate agency to continue his work. A polite young woman greets him at the entrance, handing him a set of keys and asking if he has any concerns about the property's price. Yang shakes his head and says that the market value is fair. She smiles and tells him that the house is now officially his and that he can contact her anytime if he needs help. Stepping outside, Yang thinks about how he needs to buy a new car soon so that he can get back to work, and just as he begins to plan his next move, his phone starts ringing, pulling him back into another unexpected turn of events. Soon, the system girl comes in front of him, wearing a traditional Chinese dress that sways gently in the breeze. With her calm yet cheerful tone, she informs him that a new complaint has been received and that the bonus program is being activated immediately. Hearing this, Yang's tired expression brightens, and a smile spreads across his face as he realizes that another reward is waiting for him. The girl continues, saying that a new luxury car has been prepared for him in the parking lot. However, she explains that even though it is a high-end vehicle, it has been carefully modified to look like an ordinary car, so that he can continue working as a taxi driver without drawing attention. She hands him the keys, and Yang takes them with excitement, commenting that the system is truly thoughtful and always seems to understand what he needs. Still smiling, he decides to head home to relax after everything that has happened. When he reaches Villa Number 1, his new residence, he parks the car and steps inside. The house feels peaceful and elegant, with a soft breeze coming from the pond nearby. Sitting comfortably in a chair by the water, Yang enjoys a cup of ice cream, savoring both the taste and the quiet evening. The lights from nearby villas shimmer in the pond's reflection, and for the first time in a while, he feels completely at ease. Across the way, on the balcony of Villa Number 8, two figures are visible. A graceful woman named Yanong and her personal manager. The manager has come to invite her to dinner, but Yanong, curious as ever, asks if she has discovered anything about the mysterious new owner of Villa Number 1. The manager replies that the guards have looked into it and found that the owner is a young man who drives an ordinary car and doesn't look like a wealthy person at all. Yanong's interest deepens, and she muses that the man might actually come from a powerful or secretive family who prefers to stay low profile. Wanting to make a good impression, she instructs her manager to take 2 bottles of fine wine as a welcome gift to their new neighbor. A few minutes later, the doorbell at Villa Number 1 rings, and Yang gets up to open it. Standing outside is a polite woman holding a small gift bag. She introduces herself as the manager from Villa Number 8 and explains that her lady sent over some wine as a friendly gesture to welcome him. Smiling, Yang thanks her and asks for the lady's name, learning that her name is Yanong. He introduces himself in return and, showing his good manners, invites the woman inside for tea, but she kindly refuses, saying that she only came to deliver the gift and must return soon. After thanking her again, Yang watches as she walks away under the villa lights. When the manager returns, Yanong is waiting by her door, asking curiously how the meeting went. The woman replies that the man seems well-mannered, polite, and genuinely humble despite his nice house. She also adds that he promised to return the visit another day to express his thanks in person. Pleased by this answer, Yanong nods and tells the manager to rest for the night. Meanwhile, back at Villa Number 1, Yang glances at the clock and notices that it's only 10 in the evening. Feeling refreshed and slightly restless, he decides to take his new car for a late-night drive. He starts the engine, the smooth hum of the luxury vehicle filling the air as he drives through the quiet streets, enjoying how comfortable it feels. Soon, the system notifies him of a new order, and he drives toward the cinema where his passengers are waiting. When he stops in front of the building, he sees a young couple standing together. Rolling down the window, he tells them that he is their driver and asks them to fasten their seatbelts. The girl, who seems nervous, explains that she is a student and needs to return to her hostel within 15 minutes, otherwise she won't be allowed inside. Checking the navigation system, Yang calmly replies that according to the route, it will take about 20 minutes and it may be hard to make it on time. The boyfriend, sitting in the back, tells him to drive as fast as possible so that she can make it. However, judging from his expression, Yang suspects the guy intentionally wasted time earlier so the girl would miss curfew and have to spend the night with him. Not wanting that to happen, Yang steps on the accelerator and focuses on getting her there on time. The girl thanks him sincerely, her voice full of relief, but her boyfriend looks displeased, muttering that if the driver fails, not only will he refuse to pay but will also demand that Yang take them back. Confused, the girl asks why he said such a thing, and he whispers that he only wants to make the driver hurry. Yang chuckles lightly and says that since he has promised to make it, he surely will, because he once studied at the same university and knows a faster shortcut that will get them there just in time. The girl's eyes light up when she hears that the driver studied at the same institute as her, and her curiosity immediately takes over as she begins asking him question after question. Where he studied, which department he was in, and what his name is. Yang smiles and answers patiently, introducing himself in a calm and polite manner. Just then, the car's navigation system speaks, warning that they have deviated from the main route. The boy in the back seat becomes anxious, frowning as he asks why Yang has changed the direction when the route was already set. Yang explains in an even tone that the shortcut he has taken will actually save them 5 minutes and help the girl reach her dormitory before the curfew. The girl, feeling relieved and impressed, thanks him happily and says they are lucky to have met such a driver. She even asks for his phone number in case she ever needs his help again, completely ignoring her annoyed boyfriend sitting behind her. The car speeds smoothly through the quiet city streets, and in no time, they arrive in front of the dormitory building. As soon as they stop, the girl quickly gets out of the car, waves to the caretaker at the gate, and calls out for him not to close the door yet. She turns back to Yang, smiling brightly, and thanks him again for helping her make it on time. Yang nods and wishes her a good night before she disappears inside the building. Then, turning toward the boy still sitting in the back seat, he asks calmly where he should drop him off next. The boy smirks slightly and says that he will place another order and asks Yang to continue driving. At that very moment, a sudden notification flashes across the car's screen. The system reports that a bad review has just been received. Yang frowns and wonders who could have left it since this was his first ride of the day. The only explanation is that the boy behind him left it. Almost instantly, the system sends another message saying that, as a result of the complaint, he has gained a real combat skill, and it is activating immediately. Yang feels an unusual rush of energy through his entire body, as if his muscles and reflexes have been enhanced with some mysterious power. He turns toward the boy and asks in a calm but firm tone why he gave him a bad review when he had clearly brought the girl on time. The boy just smiles wickedly and tells Yang to keep driving, saying that he will explain everything later. Yang follows his direction and drives to the destination. But when they arrive, he asks again, more insistently this time, why the bad review was given. The boy ignores him, pulls out his phone, and makes a quick call telling the guys to come over. Within moments, 3 rough-looking thugs rush toward the car. They start banging on the doors and windows, shouting for Yang to get out while kicking the vehicle angrily. Yang glances at the boy, trying to understand what is happening, and the boy finally reveals the truth with a sneer. He admits that he purposely delayed the girl earlier because he wanted her to miss her curfew and have no choice but to spend the night with him. However, because Yang helped her reach the hostel in time, his plan failed, and now he wants revenge. Yang looks at him in disbelief, unable to understand how someone could be so petty. The boy curses again, kicks the car's side mirror, and orders him to step out. Yang takes a deep breath, recalling that the system had just given him a new technique, and thinks that this might be the perfect moment to test it. As the gang surrounds him with metal bats, clearly intending to beat him, Yang remains calm and even raises his hand slightly, asking them to wait a moment. The boy laughs mockingly, assuming that Yang is frightened, and tells him to kneel down and beg for forgiveness if he wants to avoid getting hurt. But Yang only points toward a nearby street camera and says that if they attack him here, everything will be recorded as evidence. He suggests they move somewhere quieter where there will be no witnesses. The boy grins, thinking Yang is surrendering, and agrees, motioning for his men to follow. As they walk down a dimly lit alley, Yang rubs his fists together, feeling the strange strength flowing through him. The thugs approach confidently, unaware of the danger. Then, the peaceful night is broken by the sound of punches and groans as the attackers fall one by one, the quiet street echoing only with the muffled sounds of the beaten thugs. Yang walks away from the scene without a single scratch, leaving the group of beaten hooligans groaning on the ground. The street is silent except for their pained voices, and among them, one of the bruised men angrily turns toward the boy who had called them there. He threatens that since this whole mess was his idea, he will now have to take responsibility for the damages and pay for their medical bills. Trembling and pale, the boy nods quickly, admitting that Yang is much stronger than he expected and nervously insists that he never imagined the driver could fight like that. Just then, headlights flash across the dark street as a car approaches the group. Yang steps out from the shadows, his calm expression making the cowardly boy freeze in place. When Yang calls out his name in a low but firm voice, the boy's legs almost give out as he starts begging for mercy, swearing that he will never cause trouble again. He pleads desperately not to be beaten to death. Yang walks toward him, assuring him coldly that he has no intention of hitting him again, but as soon as he reaches him, he grabs the boy by the collar, his sharp gaze fixed on him, and shouts that he owes him a new car for all the damage caused. Terrified, the boy nods without a single argument and agrees to compensate for the loss. After settling that matter, Yang turns away and heads toward his car. His phone rings, and he sees that the call is from the girl he had dropped off at the hostel earlier that night. She sounds cheerful at first, asking whether he had safely dropped her boyfriend home as well. Yang sighs and tells her in a calm but firm tone that her boyfriend had actually gathered a gang to ambush him. Shocked, the girl gasps in disbelief, but before she can say more, Yang advises her to break up with someone so dangerous, since a man who reacts with violence is not worth her time. Meanwhile, that same boy limps down another street, holding his phone to his ear when it suddenly rings. The girl's furious voice bursts out of the speaker, demanding to know why he attacked the driver who only tried to help her. He yells back in frustration, shouting that he had been angry because she had been too friendly with the driver in front of him and that it hurt his pride. "Are you crazy?" she screams, her voice filled with fury and disappointment. Unable to bear her words, he ends the call angrily and curses under his breath, his face twisted with rage. Consumed by resentment, the boy decides to file another complaint against Yang, hoping to cause him trouble. But instead of punishing him, the mysterious system once again rewards Yang. A glowing notification appears, stating that he has received another upgrade that will strengthen his body further, and it asks him to confirm when he would like the enhancement to begin. Yang smiles in amusement, realizing how every attempt to harm him only brings him more power and gifts. Finally reaching his villa, Yang lies down on his bed and tells the system to begin the strengthening process immediately. The system responds at once, saying that the process is starting, and soon, a strange warmth spreads throughout his entire body. He feels energy surging through every muscle, bone and vein as if invisible hands are shaping him into something more powerful. Within moments, the process ends, and the system proudly announces that, considering all external conditions, Yang is now the strongest person in the world. Feeling satisfied yet curious about the new sensation, Yang suddenly notices an odd smell filling the room. He realizes that it must be the famous process known as clearing of the meridians, a sign that his internal energy is being purified. The next morning, refreshed and full of strength, Yang decides to go for a run around the villa grounds. While jogging, he spots a familiar figure ahead, a graceful young woman in sportswear. As he comes closer, he recognizes her as Yinong, the owner of Villa Number 8, and greets her with a friendly smile. Yinong quickly realizes that this is her new neighbor, the mysterious owner of Villa Number 1. They shake hands politely, and Yang thanks her for the fine wine she had sent earlier, telling her that he really appreciated the thoughtful gesture. She smiles softly and wishes him a pleasant day. After saying goodbye, Yang continues his run, his thoughts calm yet focused. Yinong watches him leave, impressed by his confident yet humble manner. She quietly muses that he seems like a man from an influential family, strong but well-mannered. Meanwhile, Yang, still feeling grateful for the meeting, wonders what kind of gift he could prepare to return her kindness. After thinking for a while, Yang finally decides that the best gift for Yinong is the same tea she once liked so much. And early that morning, the doorbell of Villa Number 8 rings. The manager opens the door politely and invites Yang to come inside. Yang steps in, smiling warmly as he hands over a small bag, saying that he wants to share some tea with them because he remembers how much they enjoyed it before. The manager looks a bit surprised at such a thoughtful gesture, and just then, Yinong appears on the second floor, drying her long wet hair with a towel as she walks down the stairs. She greets him with a friendly smile and offers to treat him to some wine, saying that it's too early in the day to drink tea alone. Yang greets her back respectfully, while the manager tells her that Yang has brought them tea as a gift and suggests that they should prepare it right away. Yinong agrees, saying that it sounds like a good idea and offering to boil the water herself. Yang smiles, handing the package to the manager and saying gently that he cannot stay for long because he has to go pick up his car. Hearing this, Yinong quickly comes closer and curiously asks what kind of work he does. Yang answers calmly that he is a taxi driver, and before she can ask anything more, he says goodbye and walks out with his usual quiet confidence. After he leaves, Yinong stands near the staircase, puzzled, and wonders how someone who drives a taxi can afford to live in Villa Number 1. She quietly voices her doubt to the manager, saying that maybe Yang isn't actually rich. The manager opens the package and looks at the tea leaves inside, then turns to her and asks what kind of tea she thinks it might be. Yinong shakes her head and says that she doesn't know, suggesting that they should take it to her old friend who is an expert in different kinds of tea so they can find out what kind it is. The manager nods in agreement and goes out to consult that friend, while Yinong keeps thinking about the mysterious driver who seems far too interesting for an ordinary man. Meanwhile, Yang drives his new car to take his next order, and when he arrives, he is surprised to see Chani, the same red-haired girl he once saved from that troublesome guy. Smiling lightly, he asks if she has ordered the taxi. Chani opens the door, still confused why someone like him drives such an ordinary car instead of a sports car, and she sits comfortably in the front seat. Crossing her legs with a teasing smile, she asks if her legs look even more attractive now, and Yang answers in a calm tone that if she stays quiet, she scores 99 points, but if she talks, she gets only 59. Chani stares at him, shocked by such a blunt answer, but before she can react, he changes the topic and reminds her to buckle up for safety. As the car moves smoothly along the road, Chani suddenly invites him to lunch at a nearby restaurant, but Yang politely refuses, saying that he needs to pick up another car. She pouts playfully and says that she only wants to treat him to a drink, but Yang replies that she clearly plans to get him drunk so she can drag him to a hotel afterward, and Chani laughs, admitting that maybe she does. Even so, Yang firmly says that he isn't interested in dinner or drinks. Feeling offended, Chani crosses her arms and says that he must be crazy to reject such a beautiful and smart girl, and then she begins to suspect that maybe he is not interested in women at all. Yang steps on the brake, stops the car, and calmly tells her that they have arrived. He adds that if she has nothing else to say, she should get out, which leaves Chani fuming with embarrassment as she slams the door and walks away, convinced that he must be gay since no normal man would reject her. Yang sighs quietly and drives off to his next ride, where he finds a man arguing with a frightened young girl. The girl waves to Yang, clearly desperate for help, while the man grabs her arm, demanding payment. The girl protests that it is not her fault that the bicycles fell, but the man accuses her of damaging a parked car. Yang steps forward and points toward a street camera nearby, calmly asking if they would like to check the footage to see who is actually at fault. The girl seems relieved when Yang suggests checking the street camera because it would show exactly what happened, and she nods eagerly, hoping that the misunderstanding will end soon. The man, however, glares at Yang with a cold expression and remarks that he has noticed temporary registration plates on Yang's car, then threatens that if Yang keeps interfering, he will smash the car right there on the street. From the way the man talks and acts, Yang quickly understands that he is not seeking justice but simply trying to extort money from the frightened girl, and that such a shameless bully deserves to be taught a lesson. Calmly, Yang tells him that no one should treat a girl like this, yet the man snaps back in anger, demanding to know what any of this has to do with him. Yang answers quietly that the girl is his passenger. She has ordered a taxi and he has come here to pick her up, so the man is delaying their ride and causing unnecessary trouble. He adds that the matter can easily be solved if they all just look at the camera footage, but before he can finish, the man suddenly pulls out a baseball bat from behind his back, waving it threateningly as he reminds Yang that he had already warned him not to interfere. The man asks arrogantly if Yang really thinks he won't dare to smash the car, and Yang points toward his own vehicle with an amused smile, saying that the man is free to crash it, if he is also ready to pay for the repairs afterward. The man bursts out laughing, claiming that he could afford to buy several of these cars without even thinking twice. Rolling up his sleeves, he prepares to attack, but the girl quickly steps forward, her voice trembling as she begs both of them not to fight and not to drag anyone else into their problem. Yang gently takes the girl's hand and tells her not to worry or stop him because he has already dealt with men like this before. Then he pulls her slightly closer to protect her and adds that she should stay calm and let him handle everything. The girl blushes unexpectedly at his closeness, feeling both embarrassed and safe, and she whispers a soft apology for involving him in her personal trouble. Yang smiles reassuringly at her and turns his attention back to the man, meeting his furious stare with a calm, confident look. The man lifts the bat high and declares loudly that if he doesn't smash this car, he will be too ashamed to call himself a man, yet as he takes one step forward, he suddenly freezes. His eyes widen when he finally notices the car's logo and realizes that it's an extremely expensive model. The kind of luxury car he could never afford to repair even if he worked his whole life. Yang frowns impatiently and asks why he stopped, encouraging him sarcastically to continue if he dares. At that moment, the man's arrogance vanishes completely. He throws the bat aside and forces a nervous smile, saying that perhaps there has been a misunderstanding. He laughs awkwardly and claims that the bicycles must have fallen because of a strong gust of wind. And then, pretending to act friendly, he insists that he only wants to ask the girl a few harmless questions. Yang doesn't quite understand how someone can change their attitude so suddenly, but since the man no longer seems aggressive, he decides not to waste more time arguing. The man apologizes again, assuring them that there's no problem anymore, and politely tells them to continue with their day. Yang nods, takes the girl by the arm, and leads her back to his car. When they sit inside, the girl exhales in relief and thanks him with genuine gratitude. But Yang smiles modestly and says that if she hadn't called for a taxi, he wouldn't have been there to help her. The girl laughs softly, still puzzled about why the man became so polite all of a sudden, and Yang agrees that maybe it was just a strange change of mood. A few minutes later, the car stops in front of a tall building, and Yang says that they have arrived. The girl smiles and introduces herself as Zhao Yun, saying that she wants to thank him properly by inviting him to have dinner with her and one of her friends. However, Yang shakes his head and politely refuses, saying that he just wants to rest and have some food alone. Still wanting to stay in touch, Yun asks for his phone number so she can call him whenever she needs a ride again. They exchange numbers by holding their phones close, and after saying goodbye, Yun steps out of the car, watching as he drives away into the evening. As Yang turns the corner, the quiet hum of the road fills the car, and only then does he realize that he is feeling hungry. Yang parks his car outside a small cafe, its polished bumper gleaming faintly under the evening lights, and steps inside, feeling relaxed after a long day. He chooses a quiet corner and calls a waitress over, asking her politely to take his order. As he sits down, still deciding what to eat, the calm of the place is suddenly interrupted by the soft ping of a message on his phone. Curious, he opens it and his expression changes instantly when he reads the words. It's a message from Yun, and she's pleading for help. She writes that someone has slipped something into her drink and that she feels dizzy, begging him to come quickly. Realizing the danger, Yang glances at the message again and notices the location. It's from a room in the very same building where he's sitting. Without wasting a second, he stands up and hurries toward the counter, telling the waitress in a firm but calm voice to go immediately to room 302 and check what is happening there. Just as the waitress is about to move, the cafe doors open and several people walk in. Yang freezes for a moment when he recognizes one of them. It's Hengji, the same man who had earlier tried to cause trouble for him. Behind Hengji, two young women are dragging a weak and unsteady Yun, holding her tightly on both sides as if she can barely walk. Yang's eyes narrow as he realizes that Yun's message was not a mistake or a prank. She truly needs help. Yun, her cheeks flushed red and her voice faint, pleads weakly for them to let her go, but the girls insist that they are just taking her back to the dormitory. Sitting calmly but alert, Yang tilts his chair toward them, then in one quick motion, kicks it forcefully in their direction. The chair strikes Hengji's leg, making him stumble backward in shock. His eyes widen as he recognizes Yang, and he blurts out angrily, asking how Yang managed to show up again so soon. Yang doesn't bother to answer his question. Instead, he rises to his feet and steps toward them with quiet authority. Hengji glares at him and orders Yang to get lost, shouting at the two girls to follow him. But Yang blocks their path and asks coldly who they are and what exactly they're doing with Yun. One of the girls, clearly nervous, stammers that Yun has simply drunk too much, and they're just helping her get back safely to her hostel. Yang lifts his phone and shows them the screen displaying Yun's desperate message, asking if that's what they call helping a friend. Both girls go pale at the sight of the message, and even Hengji looks stunned, not expecting Yun's plea for help to be discovered. After a few seconds of awkward silence, one of the girls quickly blurts out that she didn't know anything and that it was all her friend's idea, while Hengji suddenly cuts in, claiming arrogantly that he is Yun's boyfriend and everything is just a misunderstanding. Yang ignores his excuse and calmly takes out his phone, saying that if it's really nothing serious, they can wait together for the police to come and sort things out. Hengji's face turns red with rage as he shouts that Yang is deliberately making trouble, but when he sees Yang pressing a few buttons on his phone, he panics and suddenly dashes toward the exit, abandoning the two girls he came with. The girls exchange frightened looks, and one of them pushes Yun gently toward Yang, saying nervously that she wants no part in this and runs away. Yang quickly catches Yun before she falls, lightly patting her cheek to wake her. Yun's eyes flutter open, still hazy, and she whispers weakly, asking him to take her somewhere safe. He nods and lifts her carefully into his arms, asking the stunned waitress nearby to open one of the empty rooms for them. The door to room 302 swings open, and Yang carries Yun inside, placing her gently on the sofa. She clings to his sleeve, her voice trembling as she keeps asking him to save her. Yang pours her a glass of water, helping her drink it slowly, and asks what exactly happened. Yun explains in a weak voice that she had been invited to dinner by two friends, but when she arrived, Hengji was already there. She says she felt uncomfortable and wanted to leave immediately, but he smiled and handed her a glass of juice. After drinking it, she started to feel dizzy, and the next thing she remembers is being dragged away. Yang frowns, realizing that Hengji must have slipped sleeping pills into her drink. He tells Yun that she was lucky to message him in time and asks why she trusted the drink in the first place. Embarrassed and angry, Yun jumps up, saying that she will report everything to the police herself. Yang nods approvingly, takes out his phone again, and tells her that they will make sure those people don't escape punishment this time. A police car soon arrives at the scene, its red and blue lights flashing softly against the building walls. The officers talk briefly with Yang before Yun gets inside the car to give her statement. She looks back at him with gratitude, and he nods reassuringly, silently hoping that this time, Hengji won't escape punishment so easily. When the police car drives away, Yang finally breathes out, feeling both relieved and tired after the tense night. He drives back to his villa, the streets quiet under the dim glow of the city lights. As he reaches Villa Number 1, he notices the familiar figure of the manager from Villa Number 8 standing near the gate. The woman smiles politely and greets him, saying that she is glad he has finally returned home. Curious, Yang asks what brings her here at this hour, and she explains that Yanong wanted to invite him to dinner and sent her to ask if he would agree to join them tonight. Yang smiles faintly and shakes his head, saying that he is too exhausted today after a long and complicated evening, but if they are free tomorrow night, he will be happy to host them instead. The woman's face brightens at his answer, and she promises that she will prepare several good dishes for the dinner. Thanking him warmly, she walks back toward Villa Number 8. When she enters the house, Yunong looks up from the sofa and asks curiously why the manager came back alone. The woman explains that Yang declined the dinner invitation for today but invited them to his place tomorrow evening instead. Yunong raises her brows in surprise, murmuring that he is the first man who has ever dared to refuse one of her invitations. Still, a small smile forms on her lips as she admits that this makes her more curious about him. She tells the manager to accept his invitation and says she will visit him tomorrow evening without fail. Meanwhile, Yang changes into comfortable clothes and sits by the window, enjoying the night air. His phone buzzes, and when he answers it, he hears Yun's familiar voice. She tells him that her neighbor has confessed to everything at the police station, but she is certain that the man forced her to do it. Yang listens patiently and promises her that he will handle the situation himself and make sure the real culprit faces justice. Grateful, Yun thanks him again before hanging up. The next morning, Yang returns to work. He accepts a new order and soon stops in front of a tall building where a young couple is waiting. The man sits in the front passenger seat while the girl takes the back. Yang greets them politely and reminds them to fasten their seatbelts. Suddenly the man in front removes his shoes, and a terrible smell fills the car. Yang flinches and covers his nose slightly before telling the passenger to please put his shoes back on and buckle up. The man lazily leans back and refuses, saying that he is tired and wants to rest for a while. Trying to stay calm, Yang repeats more firmly that the rules require passengers to keep their shoes on and buckle up, and if the man refuses, he will have to ask them to leave the car. The man smirks and says that if Yang keeps talking, he will give him a bad review, while the girl in the back laughs and mocks that a taxi driver has no right to complain about a customer's smell. At that, Yang's patience runs out. He warns them one last time that if the man doesn't wear his shoes, he will throw them out. The passenger laughs, saying he would like to see him try. Without another word, Yang steps out of the car, walks around to the passenger side, opens the door, grabs the man's wrist, and with one smooth motion, pulls him out and sets him firmly on the ground. The girl screams in shock, calling for help as people nearby begin to gather, curious about the noise. Yang calmly explains what happened while holding his ground, and a few onlookers sniff the air, instantly understanding the situation. They begin murmuring among themselves, criticizing the man for behaving so rudely inside such an expensive car. The man, still sitting on the ground, looks confused and mutters that it's just a taxi, until he turns around and notices the luxury brand logo gleaming on the back of the vehicle. His jaw drops as he realizes how costly it is. The girl, equally stunned, whispers to him that it must be worth at least $1 million, and both of them suddenly go quiet, realizing how foolish they must look after insulting the wrong person. The girl quickly realizes that her boyfriend's behavior has embarrassed them both, so she hurriedly turns to Yang and apologizes for the trouble. She smiles sweetly and offers to treat him to dinner to make up for the situation. Her boyfriend, however, looks completely shocked by her sudden change in attitude. He frowns and asks angrily what she means by that, but the girl turns to him and says coldly that he should just leave without her since he never listens to her anyway. The guy glares at her in disbelief, demanding to know if she is serious, but she ignores him completely and waves him off impatiently. Annoyed and humiliated, he mutters something under his breath before walking away. Yang, who has been quietly watching the entire exchange, finally sighs and asks the girl to take her boyfriend's shoes out of the car so that the smell can disappear. She nods eagerly, saying that she'll gladly do it, and she throws the dirty shoes outside without hesitation. After cleaning up, the girl smoothly moves to the front seat beside him and smiles brightly, saying that she would love to invite him to dinner as a way to apologize properly. Yang, keeping a polite smile, thanks her for the offer while opening the car door to step outside for a moment. When he gets back behind the wheel, he glances at her and asks casually if she can do him a small favor by wiping the rear view camera. The girl's face lights up, thinking it's an opportunity to impress him, and she cheerfully agrees, stepping out of the car right away to clean it. However, the moment she steps away, Yang quickly starts the engine, and before she can realize what's happening, the car speeds off smoothly down the road. Shocked, the girl shouts after him that her purse is still inside the car, but Yang doesn't stop. Without slowing down, he opens the window and tosses her purse out onto the roadside so she can retrieve it later. Watching this from a distance, the smelly-footed boyfriend bursts out laughing at the sight of his girlfriend being left behind. But his laughter is short-lived when she storms up to him and slaps him hard across the face, calling him an idiot. Still rubbing his cheek in confusion, he stammers and asks why she did that. The girl angrily explains that she was only trying to apologize to the driver and fix the mess he created, but now everything has turned into a disaster. Trying to smooth things over, the boyfriend hugs her with a sheepish grin, saying that she did the right thing, and suggests that they should at least leave a bad review for the driver. The girl nods quickly, agreeing out of frustration. The guy then pulls out his phone, writes a terrible review, and even files a formal complaint against Yang before they finally walk away. Later that day, Yang drives to a dry cleaner to have his car washed thoroughly, wanting to remove the lingering smell left by the unpleasant passengers. While sipping his coffee and waiting for the car to be cleaned, he receives a system notification on his phone. The familiar girl in the traditional Chinese dress appears once again in the holographic display, smiling as she announces that he has just received 32% of the shares of the Baoking Hotel and an additional $5 million in cash, making him the hotel's second-largest shareholder. Delighted, Yang laughs and jokingly asks if the system can also compensate him for the damage caused by the smelly passenger earlier. Just then, another message pops up from Wang Lixin, telling him to come to the Baoking Hotel at 3 o'clock the next afternoon. Feeling that luck is finally turning in his favor, Yang finishes his coffee and returns home in a good mood. When he enters his villa, he is surprised to find two chefs already standing at the door. Confused, he asks what they are doing there, and the cooks quickly explain that they were sent by Yinong to prepare dinner for the evening. Understanding that it must be for tomorrow's dinner invitation, Yang smiles and invites them inside. As the chefs step into the villa, they are stunned by the luxurious kitchen before them. They whisper to each other in amazement about how even the smallest utensils look expensive, and one of them scolds the younger cook to be careful not to damage anything. They notice that the knives sparkle like jewels and even the faucet appears to be gold-plated. Yang chuckles lightly at their expressions and asks them if they need him to buy anything else for tonight's preparations. The cook assures our hero that there will be plenty of food for everyone, so he doesn't need to worry about anything. Yang smiles in relief and thanks him sincerely for his hard work, and the cook nods proudly, happy to hear his appreciation. Just as Yang is about to sit down, there is a knock at the door. He walks over, opens it, and finds Yinong standing outside with her usual calm grace. Yang smiles warmly and invites her to come in, saying that her presence makes his home look even more beautiful. Yinong blushes slightly and replies that it is a great honor for her to be visiting him in person. Behind her, the villa manager follows in with a polite smile. Yang looks surprised and says that he didn't expect her to bring the cooks herself. The woman laughs softly and explains that the chefs work at their hotel, so she wanted to make sure everything was perfect for this dinner. Yinong walks around the living room, her eyes drifting toward the elegant paintings on the walls. After studying them for a moment, she realizes that each one is worth several million, and this makes her understand that Yang might be much wealthier than he appears. Yang pours wine into crystal glasses and invites the two women to sit at the dining table, which is already set with exquisite dishes. The fragrance of freshly cooked food fills the air, and the soft light of the chandelier makes everything glow warmly. Yinong curiously asks him what kind of food he usually likes, and he smiles modestly, saying that he has never eaten such rich dishes before. After tasting one bite, he laughs and admits that this is the best food he has ever had in his life. Hearing this, Yinong begins to wonder if he might actually come from a rich family, but is hiding his background to live a simple life. The girl keeps smiling and changes the topic, asking what kind of car Yang prefers. He chuckles lightly and says that he likes sports cars, but tonight he is too drunk to drive one. Yinong giggles, playfully imagining that his story sounds like something out of a movie, where at the end, the hidden rich heir finally returns to his powerful family. Wanting him to enjoy himself, she picks up a piece of steak, places it on his plate, and invites him to try it. After taking a bite, Yang nods with genuine appreciation, saying that the flavor is truly delicious. Time passes quickly, and after an hour of laughter and good conversation, all the dishes on the table are completely finished. Feeling pleasantly full, Yinong suggests that they take a short walk outside to help digest the heavy meal, and Yang happily agrees. Together they leave the villa, strolling along the quiet road under the evening sky, talking casually about the dinner and the beauty of the night. But their peaceful walk doesn't last long. Suddenly a harsh voice interrupts them. "Hey bastard, you really have bad luck," someone shouts. Yang turns around and sees a familiar face, Hengji, the same arrogant man who had earlier crashed his car and even tried to harm Yun. Now he stands there with a group of rough-looking men behind him, grinning menacingly. Hengji says mockingly that he had hoped never to see Yang again. Yinong's expression hardens instantly. She steps forward, her voice cold and commanding, telling Hengji and his gang to get lost immediately. Hengji looks at her, sizing her up, and sneers that this is a personal matter between him and Yang, and that she shouldn't get involved. But Yinong raises her chin proudly and declares that she will not stand aside while they try to start trouble. Annoyed, Hengji warns her that if she doesn't walk away, she might get hurt. Yang quickly steps in front of her protectively, his eyes sharp. He tells Hengji that he only dares to act arrogant because he hides behind his father's company, but without that, he would have nothing to depend on. Hengji laughs darkly, saying that Yang might be right, his father's power is what keeps him strong, and then he glares at Yang with fury. Without hesitation, Hengji lifts his hand and gives a harsh order to his men. "Get him! Kill him if you have to," he shouts. The bandits around him tighten their fists and begin to move toward Yang, their eyes filled with menace as the tension fills the air. Yinong gasps in fear, standing close behind Yang, who remains calm and steady, ready to face them. Yang stands firmly in front of the group of bandits, his expression calm but his eyes sharp as steel. The moment they rush toward him, he moves with lightning speed, and in just a few swift and powerful blows, he scatters them effortlessly. The men fall one after another, clutching their arms and faces in pain, while Yinong watches in astonishment, unable to believe how easily he defeats them. She feels both thrilled and amazed, realizing that his martial arts skills are far beyond anything she has ever seen. Among the fallen attackers, Hengji trembles in fear, his arrogance gone in an instant. His voice shakes as he begs Yang not to come near him, threatening that if he does, he will tell his father everything. Hearing this, Yang steps closer, his gaze cold and unwavering, and he suddenly slaps Hengji hard across the face. The sound of the slap echoes through the air, and Hengji stares at him in shock, clutching his cheek as if he cannot believe what just happened. He shouts in disbelief that even his father has never dared to hit him, but Yang only grins dangerously and says that their fight is far from over. Before the frightened man can move, Yang delivers a few more sharp backhand slaps that make Hengji's head sway from side to side, his face swelling from the blows. Terrified, Hengji begins to cry for mercy, promising that he will never cause trouble again, and pleading for Yang to spare him because he is afraid that he might die from another hit. Seeing his pathetic state, Yang says coldly that he should remember this lesson well and commands him to get out of his sight. Hengji's men immediately grab him by the arms and run off in panic, not daring to look back. As silence falls, Yinong rushes to Yang's side, her eyes shining with admiration. She praises his incredible martial arts skills and curiously asks where he learned to fight like that. Yang smiles awkwardly, not knowing how to tell her the truth about receiving his abilities from the mysterious system, so he simply says that he hasn't seen his teacher for a long time. Yinong nods gently and wishes that someday he will meet his teacher again. Then she asks what he plans to do about Hengji and his father's company. Yang admits that he hasn't decided yet, thinking aloud that the matter is complicated. Yinong assumes that his hesitation must have something to do with his family background and offers to help him handle it as a friend. Yang looks at her gratefully and accepts her offer, promising that he will repay her kindness one day, but Yinong blushes and tells him not to be so formal. She smiles confidently and says that soon he will see the downfall of the Yaowu company, the one that belongs to Hengji's father. Hearing this, Yang laughs lightly and tells her that he recently received shares in the Baking Hotel, so as a thank you, he wants to invite her to dinner tomorrow. Yinong happily agrees, saying that she will be looking forward to it. Later that evening, Yinong returns to Villa number 8. The manager greets her warmly at the door, handing her a pair of slippers. Curious, the woman asks how everything went, and Yinong replies that she is now completely sure that Yang comes from a rich family and that he must have practiced martial arts for many years. She excitedly tells the manager about the fight and how Yang defeated all the bandits by himself. Then she orders the manager to investigate the Yaowu company immediately and adds that she wants to bankrupt it as soon as possible. The manager nods with determination and begins making arrangements at once. The next day, at the Baoking Hotel, Zhang, Lixin's boyfriend, waits impatiently in the lobby. He asks Lixin why Yang still hasn't arrived even though everyone has already gathered. Lixin frowns and says that she sent him several messages, but he hasn't replied. Zhang folds his arms angrily and says that if Yang doesn't show up, he won't pay for her classmates' dinner. At that moment, two of Lixin's former classmates, a guy wearing glasses and a red-haired girl, enter the hall and ask why everyone is arguing. Lixin tries to explain that her boyfriend refuses to pay because Yang hasn't come, suggesting that they should postpone the meeting. The guy with glasses looks shocked and says that Lixin was the one who invited them to dinner, so canceling it now is rude. The red-haired girl becomes angry and accuses Lixin of looking down on them, asking if she really thinks all her classmates are beggars. Feeling humiliated, Lixin loses her temper and begins hitting her boyfriend, blaming him for the entire embarrassment. The rich man, who is dressed elegantly and seems used to high-class gatherings, smiles politely and advises everyone not to let the incident spoil the mood. He suggests that they continue their dinner peacefully. After the sound of the closing door fades, he proposes that everyone should simply split the bill, saying that the food in the Baoking restaurant is so delicious that it is worth every coin. The red-haired girl frowns shyly and admits that she doesn't have enough money to afford such expensive food, while the bespectacled boy nervously asks how much the meal actually costs. Lixin hesitates for a moment before replying that one dish alone costs 8,000, and the boy nearly jumps out of his seat, whining that such an amount is outrageous. He complains that if he pays for this meal, he won't have any money left to pay his phone bill and begs Lixin to cover the cost instead. Embarrassed, Lixin lowers her head and confesses that she is unemployed and has no money either. The rich man laughs lightly and offers to lend everyone the money for now, reminding them to pay him back later. The bespectacled guy is overjoyed at the offer and turns to tease the red-haired girl, joking that she should consider dating the rich man instead since he seems so generous. Just then, the restaurant door opens once more, and Yang steps inside, greeting everyone warmly while apologizing for being late. The rich man nods in acknowledgement and quickly explains what happened earlier, telling him not to mind the unpleasant start. The blonde girl, who is sitting nearby, smiles kindly and gestures for Yang to take the seat next to her. Yang thanks her politely, and she encourages everyone to sit down and begin their dinner properly. However, the tense atmosphere soon returns when Lixin starts complaining, her tone sharp as she accuses Yang of abandoning her on the bridge during their last encounter. Yang answers calmly, reminding her that the dashcam recording from the car already shows exactly what happened, so there is no need to explain anything further. The rich man quickly tries to ease the situation by changing the topic, suggesting that since he already took care of ordering dinner, Yang should pay for the wine as an apology for being late. The blonde girl immediately objects, telling the rich man that if he wants to drink, he should buy his own wine. Ignoring her, the rich man waves to the waiter and orders several bottles of fine wine. When the bottles arrive, the bespectacled guy stares in disbelief and mutters that they must cost tens of thousands. The red-haired girl curiously asks the waiter how much the wine costs, and the waiter politely replies that each bottle is priced at 120,000. Everyone at the table gasps in shock, and even the rich man looks embarrassed, quickly claiming that he never ordered such expensive wine. The waiter calmly explains that it was actually Lixin's boyfriend who made that order earlier and that Lixin herself had already asked to cancel it. Hearing this, the rich man smirks slightly, thinking to himself that Lixin definitely isn't worth such an extravagant amount. The waitress insists that once a premium order has been placed, it cannot be cancelled so easily, which only increases the awkwardness in the room. Sensing that the argument is about to escalate again, Yang raises his hand and tells everyone not to argue any further. He says that he will take responsibility and pay for everything himself, even though the blonde girl looks worried and urges him to cancel the order instead, fearing that it will cost him too much. She turns to the waitress and politely asks her to bring the manager so they can sort things out properly. But the waitress repeats that expensive wine cannot be returned once it is opened. 2 minutes later, the restaurant manager enters the private dining room and asks in a formal tone who wants to cancel the order and for what reason. As his gaze moves across the table, his eyes suddenly widen in surprise when he recognizes Yang sitting there. Realizing that this young man is the new shareholder of the Baoking Hotel, the manager's attitude changes instantly. He bows slightly and turns to Yang with great respect, asking whether the food is to his liking. Yang nods casually while everyone else sits frozen in confusion, unable to understand why the manager of such a grand restaurant is treating their classmate with so much politeness and admiration. Yang looks at the dishes on the table, frowning slightly as he points to one of them and says that it has already gone cold and does not taste good anymore. The restaurant manager immediately reacts, his expression turning serious as he orders the waitress to hurry to the kitchen and bring a freshly prepared dish along with several new bottles of wine. The blonde girl becomes anxious and quickly tells the manager that they will not be able to afford so many bottles, trying to stop him before things get out of hand. However, the manager only smiles politely and assures her that there is no need to worry, explaining that since Yang has personally come to dine there, it is already a great honor for the Baoking Hotel, and therefore they would never dare to ask for payment. Hearing that, Yang calmly waves his hand and says that it is fine, adding that the rich classmate has already promised to pay for the food, and he himself will take care of the wine. The manager nods respectfully when Yang tells him to return to work and wishes everyone an enjoyable meal before leaving the room. When the door closes behind him, Yang turns back to his classmates and suggests that they stop worrying about unnecessary things and start eating before the food gets cold again. The blonde girl, still puzzled by the manager's unusually respectful behavior, asks Yang why the man seemed to treat him with such politeness. The red-haired girl adds curiously that the manager was acting as if he were Yang's subordinate, and even the others at the table seem equally confused. Smiling faintly, Yang explains that he recently bought several shares of the Baoking company, and that is why the manager now treats him with special courtesy. His words immediately stun the rich man and the bespectacled boy, who exchange bewildered looks before asking how it is possible for a taxi driver to afford shares in such a prestigious company since they are worth a fortune. Yang, not wanting to reveal anything about the system that granted him this opportunity, lies easily and says that his father left him a sum of money before passing away, and that is how he made the investment. The bespectacled boy scratches his head and asks why, if Yang is rich, he still works as a taxi driver. Yang smiles faintly but doesn't answer, while Lixin, who has been silent all this time, finally gathers her courage to speak. Her eyes are filled with regret as she apologizes softly for what happened before, her voice trembling as she says that she and her boyfriend were wrong to treat him so badly. Yang listens quietly and then replies that he still remembers very well how both of them mocked and humiliated him that day. Tears roll down Lixin's cheeks as she again begs him for forgiveness, but before Yang can respond, the sound of a commotion breaks out behind the door. The manager bursts into the room, followed by several hotel security guards, dragging in Lixin's ex-boyfriend, who looks bruised and terrified. The manager reports that the man was trying to lead a group of thugs to attack Yang and demands to know what he was planning. The ex-boyfriend, shocked to see Yang sitting calmly at the table, glares at him and asks what his connection is with the Baoking Hotel. Before he can say more, the manager strikes him hard across the face, shouting that he should learn who he was trying to offend, because Yang is the second shareholder of the entire company. The man freezes in disbelief, realizing that he has gotten himself into serious trouble. Trembling, he turns to Lixin for help, but she steps back coldly and says that everything happening to him now is his own fault. Yang checks the time on his phone and realizes that it is almost time for his dinner with Yinong. Smiling calmly, he tells the manager to handle the situation and the manager immediately agrees, promising to take care of everything. Yang turns to his classmates and says that he has already paid for everyone's meal except for the rich man, then adds that he will try to come back and join them again after his date. The manager, still respectful, says that since these people are Yang's classmates, the hotel will treat them as the most honored guests. He bows politely, wishes them a pleasant meal, and follows Yang out of the room. The door closes with a soft thud, and silence settles over the private dining hall. For a moment, no one speaks, each of them lost in thought about what they have just witnessed. Finally, the blonde girl smiles warmly and breaks the silence, saying that they should eat while the food is still hot and that she is truly glad Yang has become so successful. The red-haired girl nods in agreement, admitting that she never expected this and that they all clearly underestimated him. Lixin lowers her gaze, her mind racing as she thinks to herself that she must find a way to win Yang's heart again because she still dreams of becoming a rich man's wife. Yang arrives at room number 318 where Yinong is already waiting for him. The moment he steps inside, he smiles warmly and compliments her, saying that she looks absolutely stunning. The girl laughs softly and replies that since this is their first official date, she must look her very best. Yang feels slightly embarrassed as he admits that he did not have time to go home and change into a proper suit. Yinong, however, waves her hand lightly and assures him that he looks good in anything, saying that with his perfect build, even simple clothes make him stand out. A few moments later, the chef enters the room and politely asks if he may begin serving the dishes. Yang nods and orders him to bring out the finest dishes and the most luxurious wine available. Soon, the table is covered with beautifully plated food, and the air fills with a delicious aroma. Yinong looks at the elegant spread in surprise, her eyes widening slightly as she realizes how generously Yang has treated her. Smiling, she teases him, saying that he seems to have rated her quite highly if he ordered such expensive dishes for their dinner. Before Yang can respond, his phone suddenly rings. When he checks it, he sees several unread messages from Lixin. She has been trying to reach him, asking where he is and why he is not replying, and even offering to meet him somewhere. Yang sighs softly, knowing that she is only trying to get his attention again, and decides not to reply. Meanwhile, Lixin is sitting at home staring at her phone, feeling thrilled when she sees that Yang has read her messages. She convinces herself that if he replies, she might still have a chance to win him back. The next morning, at Villa number 1, Yang wakes up to the sound of his phone ringing again. It is a business call, and the person on the line informs him that everything for his new advertising campaign has been purchased successfully. Feeling pleased, Yang immediately calls Xiaolai to tell her that the new office is ready and that they can finally begin work. He adds that the company will now be operating under a new name, Arcane. Xiaoli sounds excited and promises to inform all the employees right away. After ending the call, Yang stands up, puts on his shoes, and glances out the window, enjoying the warm sunshine and clear sky that make the morning feel peaceful. A little later, he drives off to start his day and soon accepts another taxi order from a nearby office building. When his passenger enters the car, she immediately begins to complain that he is late. Yang explains calmly that he had to take a longer route because of a traffic detour near the overpass. The girl folds her arms and angrily says that she has a train in half an hour and that if she misses it, he will have to pay her back for the ticket. Calculating the distance and time, Yang gently tells her that they might not make it in time, since even if they reach the station right before departure, she will still have to run quite far to board the train. The girl becomes even more frustrated and starts shouting that her neighbor just called to say that her husband has brought another woman home and she needs to return immediately. Trying to calm her down, Yang suggests that she call the station and ask them to delay the train for a few minutes. The girl, taking his words literally, brightens up at the idea, quickly grabs her phone and dials the station. She explains her situation earnestly, asking them to hold the train, but soon hangs up in anger when they simply disconnect without replying. Yang stares at her in disbelief, struggling not to laugh, thinking that she must be the most unreasonable passenger he has ever met. When they finally arrive at the station, the girl is still muttering angrily about how rude the station staff were. Yang stops the car and politely reminds her not to forget her belongings. The girl snaps that she will never use his taxi again and storms off toward the platform. Watching her run away, Yang sighs and shakes his head, wondering why he always meets such strange people. Just then, his phone rings again. This time it is Yun, asking him to come help her with something. Yang tells her to share her location and soon drives toward the university building where she is waiting. When he gets out of the car and walks to the passenger side, his phone buzzes again with a system message notifying him that he has received another bad review. He sighs deeply, realizing it must be from the angry woman at the station. Before he can even react, the girl in the Chinese dress appears before him with her usual graceful smile. She informs him that despite receiving a bad review, the system is rewarding him with a brand new sports car, explaining that this way, no one will ever call him a slow driver again. Hearing this, Yang's face lights up with excitement, and he quickly puts his hand into his pocket, feeling for the car key. Pulling it out, he looks at it curiously and wonders where the car is parked, surprised that the system hasn't told him yet. Yang hears a group of girls nearby whispering excitedly about a luxurious car parked at the side of the street. They admire its shining silver body and expensive design, but none of them know who the owner is. Curious, Yang walks closer, surprised to see such a stunning vehicle just sitting there. As he approaches, a young man steps out and looks at him proudly, asking with a smug smile if the car is impressive. Yang nods politely and agrees that the car looks beautiful, though he silently wonders who could afford something like this. He then realizes that this is not the car the system had promised him, and he frowns slightly, confused. Just then, someone from the crowd shouts that the car's owner has arrived. Another young man, dressed in a stylish suit, walks confidently toward them. His name is Nan, and he seems pleased by all the attention. With an exaggerated smile, he approaches Yang and offers him $100, saying that he only needs him to help hold a banner for a few minutes. Yang raises an eyebrow in confusion but says nothing yet. Nan calls another person over, a thin guy holding a small purse. Suddenly, the man drops the bag by mistake and bundles of cash spill out onto the ground. Everyone around gasps in surprise, their eyes widening at the sight of so much money. Yang watches silently as the man quickly kneels down, gathers the bills, and stuffs them back into the purse. The crowd murmurs in admiration, clearly impressed by the show of wealth. Nan then waves the money toward Yang again, handing him a bill and asking if he will do it now. Yang folds his arms and replies calmly that he hasn't agreed to anything yet. Laughing lightly, Nan pulls out a few more bills and waves them teasingly, saying that it's easy money for such a simple task. Another guy beside Yang nudges him and advises him to take the offer, saying it's not every day someone pays for standing and holding a banner. Amused, Yang finally shrugs and accepts. He takes the red banner in his hands, and the crowd helps stretch it out across the open space. Written across it in large white letters are the words, "Yun, I like you. Will you be my girlfriend?" The crowd starts murmuring and laughing, and some people take out their phones to record the scene. A man with a huge bouquet of red roses stands proudly beside the banner, clearly satisfied with his plan. He adjusts his tie and waits for Yun to appear, his smile growing wider every second. Soon Yun comes out of the nearby building, walking alongside her friend, who is frowning in annoyance. The friend mutters that she told Yun not to come because Nan is waiting here, but Yun ignores her and keeps walking. Nan, the man with the roses, watches her approach and feels even more confident. He glances at Yang holding the banner and mutters that the other man must be desperate for money to take such a job. He tells his friend beside him that if he were as poor as that guy, he wouldn't even dare look at Yun. Hearing this, Yang looks at him calmly and asks whether he truly believes Yun will like him just because he has money. Nan laughs proudly and says that everyone likes men with wealth and expensive cars. Before Nan can continue bragging, Yun suddenly rushes forward, straight past him, and stops beside Yang. The entire crowd gasps in surprise. Yang smiles awkwardly and quickly explains that Nan had paid him to hold the banner, and now that Yun is here, she should give her answer quickly before things get more awkward. Nan looks shocked and asks suspiciously if the two of them already know each other. Yang replies casually that Yun once booked his taxi, and he was her driver. Nan's eyes narrow, and he asks with scorn whether Yang is really just a taxi driver. Then, trying to ignore him, Nan drops to one knee, raises the bouquet of roses toward Yun, and says loudly, "Yun, please be my girlfriend." The onlookers cheer, expecting a romantic scene. But Yun stands frozen, staring at him in disbelief. She shakes her head and says that they have only known each other for a week, and she cannot accept something so sudden. Nan blinks in shock, completely unprepared for rejection. He insists that she must like him because he is rich, handsome, and successful. The girl crosses her arms and replies firmly that she doesn't like him at all. The crowd murmurs again and Nan's face turns red with embarrassment. He tries to convince himself that Yun must be too shy to say yes in front of everyone, but Yun raises her voice and repeats, "I said I don't like you." The crowd goes silent. Then, before anyone can react, Yun walks toward Yang with a soft smile. Standing close, she wraps her arms gently around his neck. Yang stiffens in surprise, unsure what she's doing. But before he can speak, Yun rises on her toes and kisses him in front of the entire crowd. Yang stands frozen as Nan shouts for them to stop immediately, his face red with anger and disbelief, while Yun blushes deeply and quickly apologizes, explaining that she didn't mean for her saliva to get on Yang's face. Taking out a soft handkerchief, she gently offers to wipe his lips, and as she does so, Yang smiles awkwardly and comments that her lipstick tastes like peaches, which makes Yun's cheeks turn even redder. Just then, one of Yun's classmates walks up to them, looking both amused and curious, and asks what exactly is happening here. To which Yun laughs nervously and says that the moment felt too nice, so she couldn't stop herself. Nan clenches his fists in frustration, saying angrily that he was the one who prepared everything. He created the perfect atmosphere, and yet Yun ended up kissing a poor taxi driver instead of him. Yang, keeping his calm but slightly irritated, tells Nan not to bother them anymore and even adds that he wants to invite Yun somewhere so they can talk peacefully. Hearing that, Nan becomes furious and snaps that Yang, being just a simple taxi driver, should not even dream of touching something that belongs to him. This time, Yang's patience runs thin as he asks Nan if he is seriously threatening him, and Nan confidently replies that yes, he is, because a poor man like Yang could never compete with someone as wealthy and powerful as him. Just as the argument grows tense, Yang's phone suddenly vibrates, and a message from the system appears, stating that the car number is AYC520. At first, Yang blinks in surprise, trying to recall where he saw that number before, and then he turns toward a nearby luxury sports car and exclaims with excitement that it looks very familiar. He walks closer and confirms that it matches the system's message perfectly. With a bright grin, he declares that it is his car. Nan bursts out laughing, insisting that a taxi driver could never own a car worth 40 million, saying that even if Yang worked his entire life, he wouldn't earn that much money. Calmly, Yang points at the shining blue sports car and asks if Nan is sure it isn't his. Nan, now irritated and suspicious, claims that although the car isn't his either, the real owner isn't around, so Yang should stop pretending. Yang keeps smiling and says that he is telling the truth, but before he can explain more, Nan yells at him to stay away from the car. At that moment, the car's alarm suddenly beeps and the headlights flash. Everyone gasps in shock. Yang, feigning confusion, asks curiously how the car could start on its own, while Nan's confidence begins to crumble and he nervously mutters that something must be wrong. Yang then steps closer and tells him that it's obvious the car isn't his, and Nan defensively says, "So what?" To everyone's astonishment, Yang opens the driver's door and sits down calmly in the front seat as the engine roars to life. Nan's jaw drops as he watches Yang start the car, while Yoon, shocked yet amazed, runs toward him and begs him to get out before the real owner shows up. Her friend also warns her not to get too close to Yang because this could turn into trouble. But Yang smiles confidently, invites Yoon to join him for a short ride and a snack, and tells her that there's nothing to worry about. Meanwhile, Nan keeps looking around, confused about where the actual owner could be and why no one has come to stop them yet. Yang then takes out his car keys, dangling them with a grin, and asks Nan if he still doesn't understand. Finally realizing the truth, Nan stares at him in disbelief, speechless that a man he called a poor taxi driver actually owns such an expensive car. Yoon, half laughing and half stunned, stands beside the car, and Yang looks at her one last time, teasingly saying that if she doesn't get in, he'll just drive away alone. Yoon looks at Yang with wide eyes, unable to believe that the shining luxury sports car really belongs to him, and she asks if he is being serious. Yang smiles and tells her to check the license plate carefully, saying that once she looks at it, she will understand everything. The girl bends down to see the plate and immediately notices the engraved initials that match Yang's name, realizing that he is not joking at all. Amused by her reaction, Yang urges her to hurry and get in, saying that they should leave quickly before anyone causes more trouble. Without a moment's hesitation, Yoon walks to the passenger side and opens the door, settling into the seat as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Nan, watching them in disbelief, feels completely defeated, realizing that he has turned into nothing more than a side character in someone else's story. Yoon's friend, standing nearby, stares at the expensive car in awe, still unable to process that an ordinary taxi driver could own something so luxurious. Even Yoon herself seems a little dazed, mumbling that she never imagined someone who works so hard could actually afford such a vehicle. Trying to keep things light, she invites her friend to take a ride in her place, saying that it would be fun. Her friend, though thrilled at first, quickly shakes her head, saying it wouldn't be proper. Yoon insists with a playful tone, saying that Yang wouldn't mind at all because he is her friend, and after some convincing, the girl finally agrees and slides into the seat with an uncertain smile. She comments softly that she can take a taxi on her own, but Yoon laughs, telling her to enjoy the rare chance to ride in such a car. Meanwhile, Yang looks confused and slightly worried, thinking to himself that Yoon seems to have learned nothing from her last mistake when her neighbor tricked her. Yet now she has allowed another friend to take her place so easily. With a sigh, he presses a button near the passenger seat, unfastening the seatbelt smoothly, and suggests that they go to Baoking restaurant. The girl nods, agreeing to the plan, and steps out of the car once they arrive. Yoon waits outside, not expecting anything unusual, while her friend apologizes to her, saying that she didn't think things would end up like this. At that moment, Nan walks up to them again, unable to stay away, and begins mocking Yoon, claiming that Yang obviously doesn't see her as important since he left with another girl. But Yoon's friend cuts him off sharply, saying that he shouldn't interfere and adding with confidence that Yang owns a car that Nan himself could never even dream of driving. Her words sting, and Nan's face darkens with anger. Yoon then takes her friend's arm, saying they should just leave, and they quickly hail a taxi. Still unable to accept what happened, Nan mutters that there's no way Yang owns that car. Determined to expose him, he calls his sister and asks her to check the car's registration number. After a short while, his sister calls back and reports that Yang's name isn't listed among the car owners, explaining that only 3 of those cars exist in total and none belong to him. Triumphant, Nan shouts that he knew it all along and tells his sister that he is heading to the Baoking hotel where she is staying. Furious that someone dared to humiliate her brother, the sister agrees to meet him there and promises to deal with it personally. Later, near the Baoking hotel, Nan arrives first, speeding ahead of Yoon and her friend. Soon after, Yoon calls Yang, asking where he is, while Nan, who overhears part of the call, becomes confused again, not understanding why Yang hasn't revealed his exact location. Yoon grows annoyed and snaps that Nan is too foolish to realize that she has already rejected him completely, adding that she has no interest in him at all. Just then, a confident female voice interrupts them, saying that this is quite a bold thing to say. Everyone turns to see a stylish woman walking toward them. It's Nan's sister. Delighted, Nan greets her excitedly, while she gives Yoon a cold, judgmental look and scolds her for insulting her younger brother. Yoon, however, faces her calmly and asks if she would really choose someone like Nan as a partner just because he has money but nothing else of value. For a moment, the sister hesitates, silently realizing that even she despises her brother's arrogance, though she says nothing aloud. Nan, trying to save face, tells his sister to ignore the girl and instead focus on finding the so-called taxi driver. She nods and points toward a parked car nearby. Together they walk up to it, but when they reach the car, they find it completely empty, with no one inside. Yoon's friend starts whispering to her, saying that it looks like Yang might have been lying all along and that he is probably just pretending to be rich to impress her. But Yoon refuses to believe it, shaking her head with determination. She insists that Yang is not the kind of person who would deceive her, and that she will decide for herself whom to trust. Nan's sister laughs mockingly, saying that Yoon is far too naive and that people like Yang can easily trick girls like her. Yoon glares at her and says sharply that she can tell who is honest and who is not, adding that if anyone is capable of lying, it would definitely not be Yang, but perhaps the brother she's trying to defend. Her words make Nan furious. His face turns red with anger, and he threatens to hit her for insulting him in front of his sister. Yoon stands her ground, refusing to step back, when suddenly the roar of an engine cuts through the air. A sleek car pulls up to the company's entrance and Yoon immediately recognizes it. It's Yang's car. Her face lights up with relief and joy, certain now that she wasn't deceived after all. Nan bursts out laughing, thinking it's some kind of joke, and mocks the car, calling it a cheap imitation of the real thing. Yang steps out of the car calmly and greets Yoon with a gentle smile, asking why she's still standing outside instead of going in. Yoon tells him that Nan and his sister were mocking her and claiming he had lied about the car. Yang raises an eyebrow and turns to Nan, asking coldly why he's still following them around instead of minding his own business. Nan, refusing to back down, insists that the car isn't really Yang's, explaining smugly that his sister checked everything and found out that the car is registered under someone named Yu Cheng. Yang pauses for a moment, remembering that name, and answers he doesn't know who this Yu Cheng is. But before he can say further, Nan's sister steps forward arrogantly and tells him to stop pretending. She says that she knows he doesn't have any money since he's just a taxi driver, and she offers him a job at her company if he tells the truth about the car. Yang's expression hardens. He refuses without hesitation, saying that he would never work for someone with such a dark heart. He adds that she is clearly trying to humiliate her own brother just to appear more competent in comparison. Her pride wounded, the woman snaps her fingers and orders the nearby guards to teach Yang a lesson. Before they can move, a calm but firm voice interrupts from behind them. A tall man in a dark suit walks up and says coldly that he would really like to see who dares to touch Yang. Everyone freezes. The man turns to Yang and asks politely if he is all right. Yang nods, saying he's fine, but asks who the man is. The stranger smiles slightly and introduces himself as the general manager of the Baoking Hotel. Both Nan and his sister are stunned. They look at each other in disbelief, unable to understand why someone of such high status would speak so respectfully to Yang. The sister steps forward and demands to know why the manager is treating a taxi driver so politely and who Yang really is. Manager turns slowly toward her and says firmly that Yang is not just any driver. He is the second shareholder of the Baoking Hotel. The words hit everyone like a thunderclap. Yoon gasps in astonishment, her eyes wide. She turns to Yang, asking if it's really true that he owns part of the hotel and that the car is actually his. Yang nods with a calm smile, confirming both. Yoon glances back at the car, realizing that the license plate number indeed carries Yang's initials. Meanwhile, Nan's sister still refuses to believe it. She turns to the manager again and demands to know if he's absolutely sure. Manager gives her a cold look and replies that he is not as blind as they are. implying that they failed to see what was right in front of them. Yang looks at the woman and asks mockingly if she really thinks that all people from wealthy families behave like her brother, arrogant, shallow, and disrespectful. His words make her face turn pale. Then, without another glance, he tells her to leave the hotel immediately and announces that he will not be signing the contract for the library reconstruction project with her company. Furious, the woman clenches her fists, cursing under her breath. In a sudden burst of anger, she turns to Nan and slaps him hard across the face, shouting that it's all his fault for embarrassing her. Shocked, Nan holds his cheek and stammers, asking why she's hitting him. But before he can step away, she grabs him by the collar, forces him to bow, and orders him to apologize to Yang at once. Nan is still fuming from embarrassment and humiliation as he turns to his sister and demands to know why she treats him that way in front of everyone. The woman, pretending not to understand, asks what he means, but Nan's frustration overflows. He bends down, picks up a stone from the ground, and walks toward Yang's sports car with anger burning in his eyes. His sister realizes what he's planning and becomes frightened. She hurriedly orders the guards to stop him before he does something foolish. Yun gasps and clutches Yang's arm, afraid that Nan might damage his expensive car. However, Yang remains calm and composed, watching the scene unfold with a faint smile. He says softly that it doesn't matter. If Nan damages the car, he can simply pay for it. Everyone around looks at him in surprise, wondering how he can stay so calm while his luxury car is in danger. But to their astonishment, Nan walks past Yang's car without touching it. Instead, he heads straight to his own vehicle, swings the stone high, and smashes it down, shattering the windshield. The loud crash makes everyone jump. His sister cries out in shock, asking why he is destroying his own car, but Nan simply waves the guards away, ignoring her panic. Then, with an unexpectedly steady voice, Nan announces that he has made up his mind. He says he is the rightful heir of their family, and from now on, he will focus completely on the family business. He turns to his sister with a serious expression, thanking her for everything she has done for their family and saying he will never forget her contribution, though his words carry a tone of cold finality. Yang looks at him with surprise and then smiles slightly, happy to see that Nan has finally come to his senses. He praises Nan for realizing his mistakes so quickly and finding the right path again. Nan bows politely to Yang and admits that although he still dislikes him, he feels grateful for the lesson. He adds that if Yang ever needs help, he can come to him anytime. Yang nods with understanding and says that they can talk about it in the future if the time comes. Nan's sister, however, cannot control her anger anymore. She blames Yang furiously, shouting that he ruined her plans and made a fool out of her brother. Yang replies calmly that her words make no sense and that there's no point in holding grudges. He suggests letting the matter go and instead going to have dinner together. Yun smiles and agrees, saying that she is indeed hungry. Later, they sit together at a table filled with expensive dishes and wine. The warm light of the restaurant makes the atmosphere much calmer. Yun's friend, however, still looks uneasy and says that since Nan smashed his own car, he might still be capable of damaging Yang's car too. Yang chuckles softly and tells her not to worry, saying that Nan could have done it if he wanted, but he didn't, which means he truly regrets his actions. He then turns to Yun, noticing she isn't eating, and gently tells her to order anything she likes. Yun shakes her head and says she didn't call him just to eat. There's something she wants to discuss seriously. Yang sets his glass down and asks what's wrong. Yun explains that after the previous incident, the classmates who had caused her trouble were arrested, and now their families are begging her for forgiveness. Her friend adds that the situation has become complicated because none of them can agree on what to do. Yang listens carefully, then advises them firmly that they must hand over the real ringleader to the authorities, that is Hengji, because if they let him go now, he might come after them again in the future. Yun looks worried, saying that the girls are afraid to testify because the man's father is the powerful head of the Yaowu company. Yang calmly pours a little more wine into their glasses and tells her to stop worrying. He says she should simply make her terms clear to those people and consider that an act of mercy. There's no need to be afraid of anyone, not even the Yaowu company. His steady tone makes Yun feel reassured. She nods, finally agreeing to do as he says, deciding that she will confront the issue with courage, just as Yang always does. Yang decides that since their serious talk is finished, they should relax a bit, so he suggests going to the movies. Yun's friend immediately brightens up and claps her hands, clearly happy about the idea. She seems thrilled that he invited them, but Yang quietly thinks that Yun's friend is a little too clingy, especially since he only meant to invite Yun. Still, he doesn't say anything, not wanting to spoil the mood. Yun's friend notices Yang's slightly distant gaze and misunderstands it, assuming that he must like her. As they step out of the Baoking Hotel, Yang hands over his car keys to the manager and tells him to take care of his first car. The manager bows respectfully and promises to handle everything with great care. Yang praises him for his professionalism and says he'll make sure to mention how well the manager performs his duties. The manager blushes a little from the unexpected compliment and thanks him warmly, feeling proud to be trusted by such an important guest. Meanwhile, at the luxurious home of Villa Number 8, Yunong's father sits with his daughter in the study. He asks calmly if it isn't too early to assume that Yang comes from a wealthy or powerful family. Yunong, confident in her judgment, replies that she believes he is just trying to hide his real identity. Her father shakes his head and reminds her that their family still holds shares in the Yaowu company, and it would be unwise to break their connections for someone whose true background is still uncertain. Before Yunong can answer, a quick knock sounds at the door and the same hotel manager from earlier rushes in, his face red with excitement. He reports that Yang has just returned in an extremely expensive car, one unlike any he had seen before. Yunong's father raises an eyebrow, and Yunong immediately asks what brand it is, but the manager admits that he couldn't see clearly from where he stood. Yunong is surprised and slightly jealous, wondering how Yang can spend money so freely, even beyond what she herself could afford. She finally tells her father that she will personally go to see him, bring him a gift and take a closer look at that mysterious car, her curiosity and interest clearly growing. At the same time in Villa Number 1, Yang sits comfortably on the sofa, scrolling through his phone. A familiar notification appears, and he recognizes the morning passenger from one of his previous rides. Curious, he watches a short video showing a woman being detained by the police. The woman angrily protests, saying she only bought a train ticket and doesn't deserve to be arrested. Yang smirks slightly, realizing it isn't surprising that her husband ended up cheating on her. She seems unreasonable and loud. Just then, a soft voice calls out behind him, and when Yang turns, he sees the girl from the system again, dressed beautifully in a traditional Chinese outfit. She tells him that a new complaint has been received, so the system is now granting him confidential information, dirt on the powerful Yaowu company. Yang's eyes widen in disbelief, impressed by how far the system's reach extends. He mutters that even having information on such a major company is truly shocking. The girl steps closer, leans slightly toward him, and whispers in his ear that another complaint has been filed, so the system is rewarding him with an additional magic driver bonus. Yang looks confused for a moment and asks what kind of bonus she means. The girl smiles and explains that this new skill allows him to perfectly control any kind of vehicle, cars, planes, ships, or even helicopters. Yang's surprise turns into delight, and he laughs softly, saying the name Magic Driver fits perfectly because now he really can handle any transport in the world with ease. While he's still admiring his new ability, the sound of the doorbell suddenly echoes through the quiet villa. Yang frowns, wondering who could be visiting him so late at night. He gets up and walks to the door, curious but cautious. When he opens it, he finds Yunong standing there, wearing a calm yet slightly nervous expression. She smiles politely and asks, in a gentle tone, if she has disturbed him by coming so late. Yang smiles politely and tells Yunong that she is not disturbing him at all. She returns the smile and explains that she has brought him a fresh watermelon, saying that her manager bought it especially for him. Grateful for the kind gesture, Yang thanks her warmly and invites her to come inside so they can enjoy it together. Yunong looks around the quiet villa and suggests that instead of eating indoors, they could go to the lakeside and admire the city lights while sharing the watermelon. Yang finds the idea pleasant and refreshing, so he agrees, then goes to the kitchen to slice the fruit. While he is gone, Yunong takes the chance to move closer to the sleek car parked outside. Her eyes widen when she realizes just how expensive it is. The car, worth nearly 50 million, gleams under the moonlight, and the customized license plate catches her attention immediately. She cannot hide her surprise as she runs her fingers lightly along the car's surface, thinking that only someone of extraordinary wealth could afford such a vehicle. A few moments later, Yang returns carrying a bowl full of neatly cut watermelon pieces. With his usual calm smile, he tells her that everything is ready and gestures toward the lakeside. Together they walk to the shore where the city's reflection shimmers beautifully on the water's surface. He invites her to sit and enjoy the cool evening breeze while eating the sweet fruit. Yinong takes a piece and looks at him admiringly, confessing that she is impressed by his new car. Yang chuckles softly and offers to give her a ride sometime, but she quickly shakes her head, laughing nervously, and admits that she is terrible at driving. After a short pause, Yinong glances at him curiously and asks why he still works as a taxi driver when he clearly doesn't need the money. With a calm tone, Yang replies that driving helps him communicate with all kinds of people and keeps him grounded, and that such experience will help him manage his company better in the future. His words sound sincere and mature, which makes the girl respect him even more. Then Yang takes a folder from his side and hands it to her, asking her to take a look. Yinong opens it without much thought, but as soon as she scans the pages, her expression changes dramatically. The documents contain solid evidence exposing the illegal actions of the DONGHUA company, and she is amazed by how quickly he managed to gather so much sensitive information. She looks up and says in disbelief that he is truly incredible to have done this in such a short time. Yang only smiles slightly and tells her that he has his own special ways of obtaining what he needs. He adds calmly that with this evidence, the DONGHUA company will have no chance to defend itself. Yinong nods, saying that she too has started collecting some information, but now, with his help, she can expose them completely. Yang shrugs lightly and says that he doesn't really care what happens to the company itself, as his only goal is to make sure the father and son who wronged him are humiliated. Hearing this, Yinong assures him that she will handle the matter carefully and promises to see it through. She stands up, thanks him sincerely, and says goodbye for the night. When she returns home, her father is still awake and looks surprised to see her carrying a folder. She tells him that Yang invited her in and shared these documents with her. Handing them over, she asks him to take a look. As the man reads through the papers, his eyes widen in disbelief at the amount of incriminating evidence inside. He immediately asks where she got it, and Yinong explains that Yang provided them and that she suspects he has very powerful connections. She also mentions that his new car is worth around 50 million, which amazes her father even more. She then repeats what Yang said, that he only wants to ruin the father and son, not the company itself, and asks her father if he knew that they still own shares in DONGHUA. After thinking for a moment, he decides that he will sell those shares immediately, warning his daughter to remain low profile, just like Yang does. Yinong nods obediently, and the matter is settled for now. The next morning, Yang answers the phone and hears a familiar, cheerful voice. It's his blonde classmate. She says she needs to go shopping for clothes and insists that he drive her there, hinting that she wants to spend some time with him. Yang tells his blonde classmate playfully that he will even give her a discount this time, making her laugh as she quickly sends him the address. A short while later, he drives to an apartment complex where he spots two girls waving at him enthusiastically. His classmate calls out cheerfully that they are right there. When they get into the car, she introduces the other girl as her cousin, Fang. Smiling politely, Yang greets her, saying that he's happy to meet her, and Fang responds with a shy nod. They drive through the city until they reach a large, brightly lit clothing store. Yang glances at the entrance and asks if this is the place they meant, and both girls nod excitedly. He smiles and tells them to go enjoy shopping while he waits in the car. But his classmate insists that he come with them instead of sitting alone. After some teasing and persuasion, Yang finally gives in with a helpless sigh and agrees to accompany them, though he has no idea why they want him there. When he asks, the blonde girl simply grins and tells him not to ask unnecessary questions, pulling him toward the store. As they walk inside, a sales consultant greets them warmly, and Yang freezes for a moment when he hears her voice. It sounds strikingly familiar. When he looks up, he is stunned to see that it's Jiayi, the same girl who once shared a deeply personal moment with him. Jiayi also recognizes him instantly, and her heart skips a beat, thinking that he must have come to see her. Fang notices the strange tension between them and asks curiously if they know each other. Jiayi quickly replies with a small smile that it has just been a long time since they met, trying to stay professional. Jiayi then turns to Fang and teasingly asks if she and Yang are dating, but Fang shakes her head quickly, explaining that he is just a friend who gave them a ride because her car is being repaired. To make things less awkward, Fang takes Yang's hand and leads him deeper into the store, saying she will call the staff if she needs anything. Suddenly, a loud and impatient voice echoes through the boutique. A pregnant woman angrily calls for Jiai. The girl immediately walks over with a polite smile and asks if the woman has chosen her outfit. But instead of answering, the woman throws a shirt at her in frustration. Jiai, keeping her composure, says gently that it was not intentional and asks whether the woman wants that shirt. The woman grumbles that she is pregnant and needs something loose, yet complains that loose clothes make her look fat. Then she demands the very first dress she tried on earlier. Jiai's smile wavers as she remembers the woman has already tried nearly 20 outfits and keeps changing her mind, but she patiently agrees and goes to find it. Nearby, some of Jiai's co-workers whisper to each other, saying that the woman is being difficult only because she's jealous of Jiai's looks. Apparently, her husband couldn't stop staring at her earlier. Pretending not to hear, Jiai retrieves the requested dress from the fitting room and brings it back. The pregnant woman then suddenly orders Jiai to also find something for her boyfriend. Surprised, Jiai asks if he wants to buy clothes too, and the woman snaps that she'll decide that after trying her dress, adding rudely that it's her day off and she'll do whatever she wants. Jiai answers calmly that she'll guide him to the men's section afterwards so he can pick something for himself. Just then, Jiai suddenly feels dizzy and nauseous. She covers her mouth, apologizes softly and runs toward a nearby trash can where she starts vomiting. Concerned, Fang hurries over and asks if she's all right. Jiai wipes her mouth, forces a faint smile, and insists that she's fine before asking if Fang has chosen her outfit yet. Fang nods and says she's going to try it on now. Jiai, still pale, glances at Yang, hoping he will ask if she's okay. But he remains silent, unsure of how to react, which makes her heart ache a little. At that moment, Yang's blonde classmate steps out from the fitting room wearing a new outfit. She twirls happily in front of the mirror, smiles brightly, and asks Yang how she looks. Yang smiles at his blonde classmate and tells her that personally, he thinks she looks great in the outfit. Delighted, she announces that she's buying it and asks Jiai to pack it up for her. The other girls in the store smile, saying that Yang and his classmates seem like close friends. The blonde laughs and explains that Jiai has misunderstood. She just doesn't have many guy friends, so she values his opinion. Fang, her cousin, then twirls in front of Yang and asks what he thinks of her dress. Yang nods and says she looks good, though he admits that her style isn't exactly his favorite. The classmate suddenly turns to Yang and says he should also choose something for himself since he's come all this way. Yang chuckles and agrees, asking her to wait a bit. Jiai steps forward politely and offers to guide him upstairs to the men's section. The girl walks ahead, her heels clicking softly on the steps, and Yang follows her closely. As they reach the second floor, Yang looks at her curiously and asks why she vomited earlier. Without hesitation, Jiai looks over her shoulder and says calmly that she's pregnant, and that it's his child. Yang stops in his tracks, his eyes wide in shock, trying to process her words. Jiai doesn't even glance back, acting completely serious as she takes out a shirt box and says it should fit him. Still stunned, Yang suddenly steps forward and wraps his arms around her from behind, pressing her gently against him. Jiai freezes, her cheeks burning red, and stammers that there are cameras everywhere in the store. Yang turns her around so that she faces him and, still holding her close, asks her to repeat what she just said. Jiai lowers her eyes shyly and whispers that he needs to take responsibility. But then, after watching him grow red and serious, Jiai bursts out laughing. She waves her hand and says she was joking, that she isn't pregnant at all, she only felt nauseous because of a stomach problem. Yang stares at her in disbelief, annoyed that she made such a bold joke. "How can you joke about something like that?" he asks helplessly, while Jiai giggles, saying that he's too trusting. To calm him down, she hugs him gently and tells him not to take it so seriously. Still flustered, Yang clears his throat and tells her to help him choose some clothes. While looking through shirts together, Jiai smiles softly and says that if she ever really does get pregnant, she'll definitely tell him for real next time. Yang shakes his head and tries to hide a smile. As they walk between racks, Ji complains about a troublesome couple in the store. How the woman tried on more than 20 outfits but still didn't choose anything. Yang asks who they are and why she sounds so upset about it. Ji explains that the woman used to be her colleague, but she married a wealthy man who constantly flirts with her, which disgusts her. Worse, the woman insists that Ji personally assist him whenever he shops. Hearing that, Yang frowns in anger and says that he'll teach them a lesson if they keep bothering her. Ji blinks in surprise and asks softly why he cares so much or feels the need to defend her. Before he can answer, a loud voice interrupts them, the same pregnant woman from earlier storms toward them. She glares at Ji and snaps, asking why she's ignoring them and already helping someone else when they haven't even finished choosing clothes. Yang steps protectively in front of Ji, blocking the woman's path. His expression turns cold as he says firmly that if they don't plan to buy anything, then they shouldn't waste the store staff's time. The woman's face twists with anger, and just then, her husband appears, looking arrogant. He demands to know how Yang dares to talk to them in such cheap clothes. Yang doesn't flinch. He calmly replies that they've already tried on 20 outfits without buying a single one, so they should stop causing trouble. Turning to Ji, Yang says in a steady voice, "Pick the most expensive outfit here for me." His words make the woman gasp in disbelief, and the surrounding employees exchange surprised looks. Ji nods and starts walking toward the premium section, while her co-workers whisper excitedly to each other, unable to hide their curiosity about the sudden confrontation between Yang and the rude couple. Ji picks up the box with the outfit carefully and carries it toward Yang, and when he asks her quietly whether these are indeed the most expensive clothes in the store, she nods and answers that they are, which makes him smile as he turns to the surrounding staff to find the manager. A woman soon approaches and introduces herself as the store manager, asking politely how she can help, and Yang tells her that he intends to buy the most expensive items in the shop but wants Ji to serve as his personal consultant while they select them, and the manager immediately agrees with a small bow, clearly ready to make every effort to please such a generous customer. The pregnant woman who has been making a scene grows even more indignant and complains loudly that she and her husband came earlier and were ignored. And Yang replies calmly that they already tried on 20 outfits and bought nothing, so if they do not intend to purchase anything then they should not waste the store staff's time and attention. The husband protests that he does have money and simply did not find anything suitable yet, but his wife lashes out at him and orders Ji to bring all the dresses she had tried on earlier, insisting that if they walk out empty-handed then other people will conclude they have no money, which only makes the husband more uncomfortable and flustered. While the argument grows louder, the husband blurts out that the clothes are expensive and that he only said so casually, but his wife takes this as an insult and begins to cry loudly, claiming she is pregnant and that he does not care for her properly, and the scene becomes messier when the man angrily tells Ji to fetch the requested items. Yang watches the whole thing with a cold patience, and when the husband starts to talk down to Ji by suggesting that even now she cannot sell him anything, Yang's calm breaks into action. He tells Ji to pick out the most valuable pieces for herself, telling her not to worry, and then announces he will buy whatever she selects, which makes Ji flush with surprise and pride because she admires how decisively he acts. The blonde classmate and her cousin who have come to look, hear the commotion and hurry over to see what is happening, while the cousin watches with both curiosity and excitement, because no one expected a simple taxi driver to suddenly buy the most expensive garments in the store. The husband grows more suspicious of Yang's motive and asks sarcastically whether the taxi driver really can afford such luxuries, and he demands that Ji bring a handbag priced at 328,000 for him to inspect, thinking that the man will be humiliated when he refuses. Ji retrieves the bag and hands it to the husband, who smiles broadly, boasting about how his wife can now buy anything she wants, which causes the other women nearby to whisper, and whispering leads quickly to gossip about how the couple behave and how the husband seems proud when people notice his spending. Yang watches the scene calmly, and when the husband jabs a sarcastic question at him about whether he is deliberately trying to provoke him into purchase, Yang answers plainly that if they do not have the money for it, then that is their problem and he will not be drawn into a petty contest. The wife then accuses Ji of seeking attention and even claims, loudly and manipulatively, that Ji expects money because she is carrying the husband's child, and this accusation spurs an ugly moment as the husband, enraged, raises his hand to strike Ji. Before the blow lands, Yang moves like a flash, stepping forward and catching the man's wrist, then grabbing him by the neck in one smooth motion, lifting him up as if he weighs nothing, and looking directly into his eyes while he asks angrily how dare he raise his hand against a woman. The man thrashes and shouts for Yang to let him go, promising that if he does not release him then Yang will regret it. Jiayi gently places her hand on Yang's shoulder and tells him calmly not to lower himself to their level, her voice steady yet firm. Hearing her words, Yang slowly loosens his grip around the man's neck and finally lets him go. The man coughs hard and rubs his throat while glaring at Yang with humiliation and anger, then says that he and his wife are leaving. The pregnant woman, however, refuses to let it end so easily. She shouts that a man like him cannot just walk away after being insulted without even fighting back. The man, red with frustration, thinks bitterly that he cannot win against Yang no matter what he does. So he turns and says again that they are leaving, but the woman blocks his way, screaming that she will not leave until he buys her that expensive bag, and in her rage, she even threatens that if he refuses, she will kill the child. The man stares at her in disbelief, his voice trembling with fury as he replies that she can do whatever she wants and that since she sleeps with him only for money, there is no proof that the child is even his. The woman's eyes widen with shock, and tears run down her face as she runs after him, yelling for him to stop. In her haste, she suddenly slips on the steps near the store entrance, her scream echoing as she falls down the stairs. The people around gasp, and the man rushes toward her, crouching beside her in panic and asking if she is all right. The woman groans in pain and says weakly that it hurts. Jiayi quickly steps forward and advises that they should take her to the hospital immediately before her condition gets worse. Without wasting time, the man picks her up and runs outside, waving for a taxi. They get into a taxi and disappear down the street, leaving the whole store in stunned silence. The manager, watching them leave, shakes her head angrily and mutters that the woman got what she deserved because she used her pregnancy only as an excuse to manipulate others. She then turns to Yang and asks politely if he still wants to buy something. Yang nods and says that he needs a business suit. The manager smiles and instructs Jiayi to assist him personally. Meanwhile, the cousin whispers to the classmate that they should go explore the men's department and check more clothes for Yang, pretending it's for fun but clearly curious about what will happen between him and Jiayi. Jiayi turns to Yang and asks softly how expensive he wants the clothes to be, and he answers right away that he wants something around 3,000. The girl looks at him in surprise and asks why that exact amount, and Yang smiles faintly as he remembers her promise from before. He tells her that the last time she said she would pay him back when she got her salary, so he is just returning her words by giving the money now. Jiayi blushes slightly at his thoughtfulness and quickly changes the topic, asking if he would like to order a custom-made suit instead. When he agrees, she takes out her measuring tape and begins taking his measurements carefully. As she works, she notices that Yang's body feels much stronger and firmer than before, and she pauses for a moment, asking if he has been exercising. Yang smiles secretly, thinking that his body has changed because of the mysterious system, but he simply replies that he has started going to the gym. He suddenly pulls her a little closer, joking that he has become stronger than before. Jiayi rolls her eyes and teases that no one would even want to touch him. But despite her words, her hand rests gently on his chest. Yang smiles and thinks that she can say whatever she wants, yet her actions always reveal the truth. From across the room, the cousin watches them quietly, her expression turning thoughtful and dark. She observes how close Yang and Jiayi have become, how their small gestures and teasing words show a bond deeper than friendship, and a new feeling of jealousy rises inside her heart. In that moment, she silently decides that she will find a way to break the connection between Yang and Jiayi before it grows into something more. Soon, the manager walks over and asks Jiayi if she has already chosen the clothes for Yang. Jiayi politely explains that Yang wants to order a custom-made suit and that she is still taking his measurements. The manager looks pleased to hear that and says it is a good choice, promising that Jiayi will contact him personally once the suit is ready for pickup. After that, the girls finish their shopping and say goodbye to Yang before leaving the store. Later, Yang drives the car out of the parking area, and as they move through the city lights, he turns to ask the cousin where they are going next. The cousin smiles and says that their next stop is the All Island Hotel. She sits comfortably in the seat, scrolling through her phone while chatting with the classmate, who seems excited about the plan. On the way, the cousin suddenly glances at Yang and asks teasingly why he spends so much money on expensive clothes even though he works as a taxi driver. Yang replies calmly that he simply buys what he likes and money should be spent on things that make life enjoyable. The cousin, however, secretly thinks he is a playboy who flirts with too many girls at once. She suspects that he is not as innocent as he seems and decides to test him by inviting him to dinner with her office colleagues. As they approach their destination, she takes out her phone to message her co-workers and confirm the dinner plan. A few minutes later, the car stops at the entrance of the All-Island Hotel, which looks elegant and brightly lit. Yang parks the car and tells the girls that he will go upstairs to grab a bite to eat, asking them to call him when they are done with their meeting. But the girls quickly invite him to join them for dinner instead, saying there is plenty of food and company. Seeing no reason to refuse, Yang agrees, and they all step out of the car together. When they enter the hotel's grand hall, the cousin begins introducing everyone. She first introduces her colleagues, a cheerful HR manager and a confident investment manager, then introduces her cousin and finally Yang, referring to him as a friend who works as a taxi driver. The investment manager looks at Yang with polite curiosity and mentions that all the seats are already taken, but the cousin quickly offers to find an empty chair for him, adding that taxi work must be exhausting. The classmate tries to interrupt, sensing the tone in her cousin's words, but the cousin ignores her and calls the waiter to bring an extra chair. The waiter soon arrives with a chair, setting it beside the cousin, but as he glances at Yang, he pauses for a moment because the man looks strangely familiar, though he cannot remember where he has seen him before. Meanwhile, the investment manager begins chatting casually and asks Yang about his income, suggesting that taxi drivers can earn up to 10,000 if they work hard. One of the girls comments that the amount sounds impressive, saying she might quit her job and start working with Yang if it's really that profitable, which makes everyone laugh politely. However, Yang senses that there is something unusual about this group's friendliness. The cousin starts praising the investment manager, calling him skilled and trustworthy with finances, while the manager proudly talks about his success in helping others invest wisely. He looks at Yang and says that ordinary people like him could easily start small by buying a few shares, promising that it's a safe way to earn steady money. Trying to sound interested, Yang asks which company he should invest in and how safe the process really is. The manager's eyes gleam with satisfaction as he tells Yang that their company is called Safe Returns Investment Group, claiming that it's one of the most secure places for new investors. He adds confidently that every investor's money is fully protected, so there is no risk of loss. As the dinner continues, the door of the private hall suddenly opens, and a polite waitress walks in carrying a fine bottle of premium wine. She bows slightly and apologizes for interrupting the group, then explains that the wine has been specially arranged for them. The cousin frowns in confusion, saying that she didn't order any wine, but the waitress smiles and says that the manager personally instructed her to deliver it to Mr. Yang and that the manager himself will soon come down to greet him. The cousin blinks in surprise, thinking the waitress must have meant the investment manager sitting beside her. She laughs softly, saying that the manager must have very powerful connections if the hotel's top staff is coming down just to greet him. The investment manager nods with an air of self-importance and remarks that perhaps the hotel manager has used his services before and now wants to thank him in person. Everyone chuckles politely, assuming that is the case. Moments later, the door opens again, and another man enters the hall, apologizing for being late. He greets everyone warmly, asking whether Mr. Yang has already received the wine. To everyone's astonishment, the hotel manager turns toward him and says thank you for sending the wine to our hero, not the investment manager. The hall falls silent for a moment as everyone looks at Yang in disbelief. The cousin's smile fades as she asks in confusion why the manager would bring wine to a simple taxi driver. The hotel manager calmly replies that Yang drives only for pleasure, not for money, because he enjoys it. His tone carries quiet respect, which makes everyone even more shocked. The investment manager frowns, clearly embarrassed by the sudden shift in attention. He tries to change the topic, but before he can speak, Yang interrupts with a casual smile, saying that there's no need for any unnecessary explanations. The hotel manager immediately understands the hint and excuses himself, saying that he has other duties to attend to before quickly leaving the hall. Once he is gone, Yang turns back to the table and invites everyone to sit down again. He tells the investment manager to continue his explanation about investments, adding that if the opportunity sounds interesting, he might invest a couple of million. The cousin's eyes widen in shock, realizing she may have badly underestimated him. Feeling guilty for how she acted earlier, she starts to apologize. But Yang cuts her off with a calm voice, saying that there is no need for further discussion between them. His words make the cousin fall silent. Yang looks back at the investment manager and asks him to continue. But before the man can begin, his phone suddenly rings. He quickly apologizes and answers it, saying that the president's son is calling. Everyone at the table glances at each other, impressed by how important the caller sounds. After a short conversation, the manager puts the phone down and says that he needs to return to the company immediately. However, Yang stops him with a faint smile and suggests that he invite the president's son to join them instead. He tells the man to call him back and put the phone on speaker. The investment manager hesitates but does as he is told. When the line connects, Yang asks if the caller is Zhang Long and greets him casually, telling him not to interrupt their dinner because they are having an important talk. He adds that his friend wants to work at their company and asks Zhang Long to take care of it. Zhang Long immediately agrees, saying that since Yang is the one asking, he will personally handle everything. He then tells the investment manager to listen carefully to Yang and not cause him any trouble. Everyone around the table stares at Yang, speechless, realizing that he has close ties to someone powerful. Zhang Long continues, reminding Yang about the favor he owes him. He says that since Yang once helped his friend with a loan, he now wants Yang's support in the upcoming shareholders' vote for the Bao King restaurant. Yang nods and replies that he will vote for them, earning a grateful thank you from Zhang Long. Before hanging up, Zhang Long instructs the investment manager to explain all company matters clearly to Yang. After the call ends, Yang looks at the manager and calmly invites him to sit down and eat. The man, now extremely respectful, obediently takes a seat beside him and nervously asks if Yang is really the second largest shareholder in Bao King Group. Yang smiles faintly and replies that, for now, the shares are only in his name and don't mean much, asking if he has explained that correctly. The manager nods, confirming his words, and offers to explain how futures and investments truly work in their company. Later that evening, in the parking lot, the manager follows him respectfully, but Yang smiles politely and tells him there is no need to escort him any further. He gets into his car, starts the engine, and turns to the two girls sitting in the back seat, asking cheerfully where they want to go next. The classmate thinks for a moment and then suggests that they go for a swim to relax, promising that afterward she will treat him to dinner as a thank you for everything he has done. Amused by the offer, Yang nods in agreement and drives them toward the nearest resort pool. When they arrive, the evening air feels cool and the bright lights around the swimming pool shimmer across the water. The classmate excuses herself, saying that she needs to go to the restroom before getting into the pool, and Yang simply nods and tells her to take her time. Meanwhile, he puts on his swimming goggles, walks toward the edge of the pool, and dives smoothly into the water with a powerful stroke. His form is clean and elegant, and as he glides through the water, several girls nearby turn their heads in admiration. When Yang surfaces again, water runs down his toned shoulders and chest, glistening under the lights. The girls sitting on the edge of the pool whisper to each other, amazed at how fit and handsome he looks, admiring his calm confidence. Yang slowly walks toward the shallow end, unaware that their gazes are fixed on him. Two bold girls approach him, smiling shyly, and one of them asks if she can add him on her messenger app. Before Yang can politely refuse, someone suddenly wraps her arms around him from behind. He turns around quickly, surprised to see a familiar face. It is the red-haired girl named Chiani. With a bright smile, she tells the other girls that he is her boyfriend and that they should leave him alone. The girls groan in disappointment and reluctantly walk away. Yang looks at Chiani and sighs, saying that the swimsuit suits her well, and she proudly straightens her back, replying that of course it does. After all, she is known for her beauty. She adds playfully that she is often called a flower, clearly enjoying the attention. Chiani asks what Yang is doing here, her tone half curious, half teasing. Yang answers calmly that he came to swim with a friend. Her eyes light up mischievously, and she compliments his build, asking where he got such a perfect body. Yang frowns and tells her that it's none of her business, turning to leave, but she grabs his arm to stop him. He tells her to let go, reminding her that his friend will be back any moment. She raises an eyebrow and asks if this friend is more beautiful than her. He sighs again, telling her to stop making trouble and to pretend they don't know each other when his friend returns. Feeling a little hurt, Chani mutters that she understands, promising not to interfere. Moments later, the classmate comes back, looking around for Yang. She spots him in the water and waves, and he calls out to her, inviting her to come and swim with him. She shakes her head nervously, saying that she can't swim. Yang smiles and reassures her, saying that he will help her. The girls around them whisper among themselves, gossiping that she is only pretending to be shy, that she acts innocent but is probably a flirt. Chiani watches from a distance, jealousy flickering in her eyes. She thinks bitterly that if Yang likes that kind of girl, maybe she should change her own style too. Meanwhile, the classmate slowly steps into the water, clearly nervous. The moment her feet touch the pool, she starts to panic, flailing slightly as the cool water surrounds her. Her voice trembles as she calls out for Yang to help her. Yang quickly lifts the frightened classmate into his arms, telling her to hold on tightly and not be afraid as he helps her float in the water. While making sure she feels safe, he suddenly hears loud screams coming from the other side of the pool. Turning around, he sees that Chiani is in the middle of a commotion, surrounded by a group of girls who are shouting and splashing water. Worried, he tells the classmate to climb onto his back so he can swim over more quickly. As he gets closer, he notices that several girls are arguing with Chiani, their voices rising in the heated summer air. Yang frowns and asks calmly why they are arguing instead of enjoying their swim on such a hot day. One of the girls turns to him with a challenging tone, asking why he even came there and how many girls he has around him. Without losing his composure, Yang climbs out of the pool, water dripping from his body, and looks at them steadily. He asks why his personal life matters to them and tells them to stop making a scene. A blonde girl laughs and says it depends on whether he plans to go to the club with her later. When Yang shakes his head and firmly refuses, the blonde smirks and teasingly suggests that instead, they could go to a hotel and have some fun together. Before Yang can respond, Chiani steps forward, her eyes blazing with anger. She pushes the blonde from behind and calls her a despicable woman, shouting for her to get lost. The blonde staggers and screams just before Chiani shoves her again, sending her splashing into the pool. Yang quickly moves between them and asks Chiani to calm down, saying that there's no need to fight. But Chiani snaps that if she doesn't stand up for herself, the others might try to steal him away. Yang sighs, realizing how stubborn she can be, and gently takes both Chiani and the classmate by the hand, urging them to leave before things get worse. However, the other girls block their way, shouting that no one is going anywhere until the issue is settled. The situation grows tense as Yang steps forward, shielding Chiani and the classmate behind him. He warns the group that if anyone dares to touch them, he cannot promise that he will stay calm. Hearing his words, Chiani smiles a little to herself, thinking that at least he has some sense of decency and is willing to defend them. A lifeguard soon rushes over, telling everyone to calm down and solve the matter peacefully. The blonde, still dripping wet, screams that nothing will be resolved until Chiani drinks some pool water as punishment. Yang raises an eyebrow at this absurd demand, then smiles faintly and asks the blonde if she really wants Chiani to test the water. When the blonde arrogantly nods, he turns around, takes a bottle of water from a nearby vending machine and tosses it lightly to Chiani. She immediately understands what he means, opens the bottle and takes a few big sips before showing it to the blonde, saying mockingly that she has tested the water just as requested. The onlookers burst into laughter while the blonde's face turns red with anger. Chiani then leans closer to Yang, touching his arm playfully, and tells the girls that he is strong enough to deal with all of them if he wants. Yang gives her a half smile and reminds her that when a girl talks too much, her beauty loses points. Maybe only 59 out of 100. But when she stays quiet, she becomes perfect and gets all 99 points. His teasing remark makes Chiani grin, but it drives the blonde crazy. Furious, she glares at them and says she'll be right back before storming off. The classmate, feeling uneasy, whispers that they should leave before things get worse, but Chani confidently tells her not to worry since Yang can handle everything easily. Yang agrees, saying calmly that they shouldn't let small-minded people ruin their fun, and suggests they focus on enjoying their time instead. Taking the classmate's hand again, he leads her back toward the pool, offering to continue teaching her how to swim. For a few peaceful minutes, it seems like the trouble has passed, but then several people suddenly approach them. The blonde girl returns with 2 pool staff members and points directly at Chani, accusing her loudly of pushing her and almost causing her to drown. Chani folds her arms and looks at the man in front of her. She instantly recognizes him and with a mocking grin, asks if his taste has really become so poor after breaking up with her. The man frowns and says he didn't recognize her at first, then demands to know how they are going to settle this issue. Chani calmly answers that she only stepped in to stop the blonde's shameless behavior and doesn't need to decide anything. The blonde immediately shouts that Chani is lying and tries to twist the story in her favor. She even points at Yang, claiming that he was the one who first flirted with her and that she rejected him. Hearing such a ridiculous accusation, the man's expression darkens. He grabs the blonde by the throat and tells her sharply that Chani may be eccentric at times, but she has never lied. Pushing the blonde aside, he growls that he will deal with her later. Then he turns toward Yang with a hostile glare, challenging him to settle the matter like a man. Before Yang can respond, Chani steps forward and firmly says that she was the one who pushed the blonde into the water, so there's no reason to drag anyone else into this fight. The man smirks and says he will give Yang a fair chance to prove himself. He proposes a competition, an obstacle course across the pool. If Yang wins, the man will publicly apologize to him, but if Yang loses, he will have to crawl at his feet. Yang doesn't hesitate for even a second and agrees confidently to the challenge. The sun shines brightly in the clear sky as the heat radiates off the poolside. A crowd begins to gather around, murmuring with excitement as the 2 men prepare to compete. The announcer picks up his microphone and asks what Yang does for a living. Standing tall with a small smile, Yang replies proudly that he is a taxi driver. The crowd chuckles in surprise, but the announcer, slightly amused, nods and asks if he is ready. Yang answers yes without hesitation. 3, 2, 1, start, the announcer shouts, and the competition begins. Yang moves like lightning, dashing forward with impressive agility. He leaps over the first obstacle with perfect balance, drawing gasps from the crowd. The announcer's voice echoes through the speakers, shouting in disbelief at the taxi driver's unbelievable speed. Without slowing down, Yang jumps through the second obstacle, landing smoothly and continuing as if it were effortless. The classmate and Chani stand near the pool, cheering loudly for him while the audience's excitement keeps growing. Yang grabs the hanging rings, swings across the water with perfect rhythm, and lands on the opposite platform. Now he faces the final challenge, a tall wall that most participants struggle with. He quickly grabs a pole, runs forward, and vaults cleanly to the top in one smooth motion. The announcer yells into the microphone, congratulating him for finishing in record time, 1 minute and 23 seconds. The crowd bursts into applause as Yang steps aside, breathing evenly, not even looking tired. The announcer then turns the attention to the other participant and signals him to start. The man takes off, trying to show off his strength, but within seconds he slips, loses balance, and crashes into the water, causing a splash that makes everyone laugh. Chani laughs the loudest, calling him clumsy and awkward while the embarrassed man angrily pushes away the lifeguard offering help. From the edge of the pool, Yang gives a friendly smile and sarcastically congratulates the man, saying he completed the challenge in just 1 minute, counting from when he fell. The classmate walks up to Yang with admiration shining in her eyes, praising his speed and confidence. Yang smiles and hands her a small medal, telling her to exchange it for a prize. Blushing slightly, she thanks him and suddenly kisses him on the cheek. The crowd cheers, but Chani's expression immediately changes. She frowns in jealousy and demands to know why the classmate kissed him. The girl simply answers that it was her way of saying thank you and asks why Chani is so angry about it. Before the tension can rise again, the man, still humiliated by his loss, steps out of the water and glares at Yang. He declares that the obstacle course wasn't fair since Yang is too quick and suggests settling things with a proper race. Yang smirks and agrees, adding one condition: if he wins, the man must obey any order he gives. The crowd buzzes in excitement again, sensing another thrilling challenge. Qiani leans closer to Yang and whispers nervously that this man is an excellent racer and almost unbeatable. But Yang just smiles calmly and replies that she doesn't need to worry because racing is what he does best. After all, he's not only a taxi driver, he's also a professional racer. As evening falls, the racetrack glows under bright floodlights, and a small crowd gathers around the roaring cars. The rival racer stands beside Qiani, impatiently checking his watch. He smirks, claiming that Yang must have gotten scared and decided not to come. With arrogance in his tone, he suggests calling him to make sure he hasn't run away. Qiani immediately frowns and snaps that Yang is not a coward, explaining that he's probably just delayed and will arrive any moment. The guy laughs and puts his arm around her shoulders, asking mockingly how she could fall for a simple taxi driver. But Qiani shakes her head firmly and replies that he can never compare with Yang, because Yang has courage and skill, something money can't buy. Just then, the sound of a car engine approaches and everyone turns their heads. Yang drives into the racetrack in his ordinary taxi, the same modest car he uses for work. The rival bursts into laughter, shocked and amused, and asks loudly why Yang came in such an old beat-up vehicle. He jeers that maybe Yang just finished his shift and came straight from work. But Yang remains calm and replies that they should stop talking nonsense and start the race soon, because he wants to go home and rest early. His cool attitude annoys the other man, who reminds him of the conditions. Whoever loses must obey whatever the winner says. Yang agrees with a faint smile, silently deciding that he will use his system's magic driver skill for this race. Both racers get into their cars. When Yang sits in the driver's seat, he suddenly notices Qiani already inside, sitting in the passenger seat with a confident grin. Surprised, he asks what she's doing here, and she explains that according to the rules, every racer must have a girl beside him during the competition. Yang sighs, saying that the rule sounds ridiculous, but still tells her to fasten her seatbelt. Qiani laughs and does as told, teasing that she wants to see how good he really is. At the starting line, a girl in a cap waves the checkered flag, her voice energetic as she shouts through the microphone, "Racers, are you ready?" Both cars rev their engines. 3, 2, 1, start, she yells, swinging the flag down. Tires screech, smoke rises, and both cars launch forward. The rival sports car quickly takes the lead, speeding ahead, while Yang's modest taxi lags behind. The crowd cheers for the faster car, assuming the result is already decided. Qiani looks worried and turns to Yang, asking why they're going so slow. Yang replies calmly that in a race, it's not about how fast you start. It's about how you handle the turns. He presses the accelerator smoothly and tells her to hold on tight. The taxi surges forward, its engine roaring louder as it picks up speed. The finish line comes into view in the distance and Qiani shouts that they need to hurry. Yang chuckles and tells her not to scream, saying that she's louder than the car engine. Her cheeks turn red, but she laughs, realizing he's teasing her. "You're really impossible," she says, smiling as the wind blows through her hair. Up ahead, the rival sees a sharp turn and confidently prepares to slow down, thinking Yang won't risk it. But to his shock, Yang doesn't brake. He accelerates instead. "He's insane," the man mutters, tightening his grip on the steering wheel. At that moment, Yang twists the wheel smoothly to the left, drifting perfectly through the curve as the tires screech against the asphalt. The taxi glides around the bend with precision and bursts out of the turn ahead of the rival's car. The crowd gasps in surprise, and Qiani screams with excitement, calling Yang amazing. Her face glows with thrill as she says he's incredible at drifting, and she urges him to go even faster. Yang smiles, focused on the track ahead, his eyes calm but sharp. Meanwhile, the rival clenches his jaw, embarrassed that Yang overtook him in such an old car. He slams his foot on the gas and manages to catch up again, pulling slightly ahead. The blonde sitting beside him nervously warns that Yang is right behind them and closing the gap fast. The man laughs arrogantly, saying that Yang will never be able to overtake him again, and even claims that he could win this race with his eyes closed. The race continues at full speed and the guy suddenly cuts off Yang's black car in a mean way. Qiani gets angry and shouts that he is cheating because he is afraid of losing. But no matter how hard the guy tries to get away, Yang keeps catching up. With calm confidence, Yang says he will pass him at the next turn and tells Qiani to hold on tight. She nervously replies that he can't, because the guy is blocking the lane. Yet Yang keeps accelerating, his eyes focused on the curve ahead. As the turn approaches, Yang presses the gas even harder. The tires screech, and his car rushes forward with full power. The guy yells that Yang is crazy for driving so close, but Yang doesn't care. He controls the steering wheel perfectly and overtakes the guy's car right in the middle of the turn. The move shocks everyone watching. Chiani gasps in disbelief, calling for help as she watches their car drift ahead. The guy cannot understand how Yang manages to go faster on turns instead of slowing down, but by the time he realizes it, Yang has already crossed the finish line first. Chiani quickly jumps out of the car, feeling dizzy and sick from the intense speed. She runs away from the car and throws up nearby while Yang steps out calmly, watching her with quiet amusement. The blonde girl who had been cheering for the guy tries to comfort him, saying that it was just a small friendly race and not something serious. She tells him that Yang only won by luck, but her words only make the guy angrier. Furious and embarrassed, the guy clenches his fists and shouts that it is all her fault. In his anger, he slaps the girl across the face and yells that if it wasn't for her distraction, he wouldn't have lost his honor. He grabs her by the hair and drags her away from the car. The girl screams in pain, begging him to stop, but he pushes her roughly toward Yang. Chiani immediately becomes angry and demands to know why he pushed the girl toward their hero. Yang looks at her with a cold smile and says that he doesn't want her either and she can stay where she is. He then turns his attention back to the guy, a faint smirk forming on his face. Yang reminds him that the deal was clear. The loser must do whatever the winner says. With a calm but dangerous tone, Yang orders him to kneel. The guy stares at him in disbelief, asking if this is some kind of joke, but Yang doesn't move. When the guy refuses, Yang suddenly steps forward and kicks him hard in the stomach. The force makes the guy fall to his knees, gasping and coughing in pain. Yang bends down slightly, his voice low and threatening, and tells him that it will be better for him if he listens. He grabs the guy by the neck, squeezing just enough to make him struggle to breathe, and warns that if he doesn't obey, he might not survive next time. The crowd nearby panics, and a few men rush forward, yelling for Yang to stop. Yang turns to them with sharp eyes and asks coldly if they also want to fight him. Everyone freezes at his glare. Then Chiani runs to Yang and grabs his hand, pleading with him not to dirty his hands further. Yang lets go of the guy's neck, stepping back as the man coughs and catches his breath. The guy screams that Yang is insane, but Yang simply replies that he will show what true madness looks like if he doesn't admit defeat. The guy, still trembling, angrily warns Yang that he doesn't know who his father is. Chiani interrupts, saying he is acting like a child, but the guy shouts that it isn't over yet. He promises revenge and storms toward his car. Yang smiles calmly and asks who his father is. The guy glares back and says that his father is the CEO of a big group. Yang laughs softly and says that it changes nothing. The guy points at him, promising that in 3 days he will face trouble, then drives off quickly. Watching the taillights fade, Yang shakes his head with a faint grin and says the guy is nothing but a coward. After the tense race ends, Yang walks toward his car. He notices the blonde girl staring at him with a strange look. Curious, he asks her why she is looking at him like that. The girl smiles shyly and says that she now belongs to him and wants to stay with him. Yang raises an eyebrow and replies that he has no interest in her, then turns to get into his car. But before he can close the door, the girl blocks his way. Chiani, standing nearby, frowns and asks if the blonde has no self-respect. The blonde argues that her ex-boyfriend told her these were the terms of the bet. She lost and now belongs to Yang. Hearing this, Chiani becomes angry. She pushes the girl away and tells her that she shouldn't believe everything that foolish man says. You can't belong to anyone just because of a race, Chiani says sharply, driving the blonde back a few steps. As Yang opens the car door again, Chiani slips inside first. Yang sighs and asks why she keeps interrupting him. The girl grins and says she has to look after him or someone might steal him away. Her teasing tone makes Yang shake his head in disbelief. Chiani then says they should go somewhere nice, since Yang wanted to relax today. Yang glances at her and asks if she means going to his place. Chiani nods innocently. But before Yang can reply, the blonde protests loudly, saying she doesn't agree with this. Chiani crosses her arms and reminds her that she was the one who said she wanted to stay with Yang. So why is she objecting now? Feeling embarrassed and cornered, The blonde huffs and tells Yang to at least drop her home. With that, the car drives away from the racetrack under the dim glow of the streetlights. About half an hour later, they reach Channy's home. Yang slows the car and tells her gently that they have arrived. She opens the door, but before leaving, Yang says that she looks lovely tonight, though it would be even better if she dressed more modestly. Channy rolls her eyes, waves her hand playfully, and walks away smiling. Watching her leave, Yang chuckles softly, then decides to take a few more taxi orders before calling it a night. Soon he receives another booking and drives to a hotel. A man stands outside waiting. Yang rolls down the window and asks if he called for a taxi. The man nods and gets inside silently. When Yang glances through the mirror, he notices the man looks deeply upset, as if something terrible just happened. The drive is quiet for most of the trip. After about 20 minutes, they reach a long bridge over the river. The man points to the middle of the bridge and tells Yang to stop there. Yang parks the car and reminds the passenger not to forget his things, also adding politely that he should ride with his taxi again sometime. The man gives a bitter smile, repeating Yang's words, then adds softly, "Maybe in the next life." Yang frowns at the strange comment. He suddenly realizes the man might be thinking about suicide. He quickly calls out to him and asks if he's only here to enjoy the view of the river. The man stops walking and replies in a sad voice that there's no point in enjoying it anymore. Life itself feels meaningless. Yang steps out of the car and asks if he had a fight with his partner. The man looks at him with tears in his eyes and says it wasn't just a fight, it was betrayal. Yang listens quietly, then says that being betrayed isn't his fault and he shouldn't blame himself. He tells the man that he was also betrayed once, but he didn't give up on life. He encourages him not to lose hope. The man turns around surprised and asks if Yang's boyfriend betrayed him too. Yang starts to reply yes out of habit, but then freezes, realizing what the man just said. His eyes widen as he stares at the stranger and blurts out in shock, "Wait, what did he just say? A boyfriend?" The man standing on the bridge suddenly changes his expression. He says he feels enlightened now and wants Yang to take him back home. Yang looks at him in surprise and says that his work shift is already over, so it would be better if he calls another taxi. But the man insists that no one will pick him up at this late hour and pleads with Yang to take him. Clinging to Yang's arm, he adds that if he ever tries to do something foolish again, at least it will not be on Yang's conscience. Yang sighs helplessly and says that if the man's home is on his way, he might consider it. The man quickly replies that he lives in Haiyan. Yang nods, saying that it isn't too far away anyway, and opens the car door, inviting him inside. The man happily gets in, and soon they are on their way through the quiet night streets. When they arrive at an apartment building, Yang stops the car and tells him that they have reached his destination. The man turns to him with a smile, as if the sadness from before never existed, and invites Yang to come in for a cup of tea. He speaks cheerfully as though he hadn't just been standing on a bridge thinking about suicide. Yang politely refuses, saying that it's late and he wants to go home and rest. The man then suggests exchanging phone numbers, but Yang immediately declines and tells him to get out of the car. The man clicks his tongue in disappointment and slams the door as he leaves. A moment later, Yang's phone beeps. The system congratulates him on receiving a new bad review but rewards him with 100 million virtual currency. However, it adds that this currency can only be used to buy virtual goods. Yang shakes his head and wonders what he could possibly spend virtual money on. The only thing that comes to his mind is donating to live streams. It's already late at night when Yang finally reaches his villa. He takes a long shower, then sits on his bed trying to decide what to do. Feeling bored, he opens a streaming app on his phone and joins a live show of a cute girl singing and chatting with her viewers. On screen, the girl is smiling brightly and asking everyone to support her with gifts. Yang thinks she looks adorable and decides to send her something. He taps the rocket icon and sends her a rocket gift. A big heart animation appears on the screen. The girl notices it immediately, thanks him excitedly, and asks if he wants her to sing a song for him. Yang types in the chat, asking her to sing The Lonely Swimmer. The girl agrees and says she'll start in a few minutes. Meanwhile, someone in the chat with the username Smoking When Alone mocks Yang, saying he must be a child pretending to be rich. The girl tells them not to be rude, Yang calmly replies that he simply likes the song and if they don't, they can leave. The girl then starts singing and her voice fills the room. The audience begins commenting about Yang's donation. Some complain that they can't earn that much in a year, while others ask him to hire them. Suddenly, the same user, smoking when alone, sends the girl 100 rockets in a row. Everyone goes wild in the chat. The girl thanks him warmly. Seeing this, Yang quietly smiles and sends 800 rockets at once. The chat explodes with messages. The girl freezes in surprise, then apologizes to the audience, saying she needs to step away. She privately messages Yang, thanking him for his generosity and inviting him to meet for dinner. But Yang refuses, replying that he just spends money for fun and isn't interested in anything else. The girl, assuming he must be a rich big shot, tells him he's amazing. Yang playfully suggests that smoking when alone continue their competition without him. On the other side of the screen, the man angrily stubs out his cigarette in an ashtray, typing that he has already spent 200,000 and wants to continue tomorrow evening. Yang yawns, amused by the strange rivalry, and decides to close the app. But before he can, hundreds of messages flood in from other streamers begging him to join their shows, sing with them, or donate gifts. Yang stretches, lets out a tired sigh, and mutters that the streaming world is truly weird before finally putting his phone away for the night. The next morning, the bright sunlight fills Yang's villa, slipping through the curtains and waking him slowly. His phone keeps ringing non-stop until he lazily reaches for it and answers with half-closed eyes. It's his aunt on the other end, and she sounds excited as she tells him that his cousin Sufei's entrance exam results have arrived. She happily announces that her daughter scored 610 points, and she warmly invites Yang to visit them, saying he can help Sufei choose a good university. Still sleepy, Yang replies that he will come over today, then quietly adds that he and Fei have broken up because she found a rich man and left him. His aunt gasps in disbelief and asks how that girl could do such a thing after everything Yang had done for her family. Her voice softens as she comforts him, saying that he should not be sad because she will cook all his favorite dishes. Hearing that, Yang smiles faintly and says he will be there soon. After getting ready, Yang drives to his aunt's house. When he knocks on the door, his cousin Sufei opens it and looks surprised to see him. She immediately asks if it's true that he and Fei broke up. When Yang nods, Sufei's face brightens as she says she's actually happy about it, because she never liked Fei and always warned Yang that she was not a good person. Her mother scolds her gently, asking why she's speaking like that, but the girl insists that she only told the truth and now everyone knows she was right. Yang laughs, pinching her cheek lightly, and asks if she really scored 610 points. Sufei grins proudly and admits it's true. Yang congratulates her warmly, saying that she has even beaten his score and asks which university she plans to attend. Pouring water into a glass, Sufei admits she hasn't decided yet and asks for his advice. Yang asks her what kind of work she wants to do in the future, and she replies that she wants to be a white-collar worker. Yang nods, explaining that such jobs usually mean working in an office, and asks which industry she finds interesting. Sufei blushes and says she isn't sure yet. Just then, his aunt enters the room carrying a tray of fruit and says that she has already found a new girl for Yang. She explains that the girl is 23 years old, works as a presenter, and suggests setting up a meeting between them. Yang looks embarrassed and complains that his aunt is working too fast to find him a new partner. He says he doesn't want to date anyone right now, but his aunt insists that he's almost 30 and shouldn't wait too long. She even tells him to add the girl as a friend right away. Sufei laughs and advises her cousin to just agree, warning him that their mother won't stop talking about it until he does. Giving in, Yang takes out his phone and adds the girl as a friend. His aunt reminds him not to forget to message her later, then returns to the kitchen to finish cooking. Curious, Sufei tells Yang to open the girl's photo so they can see what she looks like. When he opens it, Yang's eyes widen in surprise. It's the same girl from the live stream he donated to last night. He chuckles in disbelief, thinking how small the world really is. Sufei stares at the photo and immediately says that the girl looks treacherous. Yang laughs and asks how she could say that just from a picture. Sufei points at the screen, saying that all the photos show the girl posing with expensive bags or in tourist spots, which obviously means she's cunning and materialistic. Their aunt overhears the conversation from the kitchen and scolds Sufei for talking nonsense. Sufei rolls her eyes, saying that she's only been home a few days and her mother is already annoying her, then declares she'll stay overnight at Yang's villa instead. Her mother gets angry and shouts that she'll deal with her as soon as the food is ready. Ignoring the warning, Sufei turns to Yang and asks him to take her out later since she hasn't decided on her university yet. From the kitchen, his aunt shouts again, telling Yang not to listen to Sufei and to invite the new girl to dinner instead. She even warns that if he doesn't, she'll be angry with him. Yang sighs helplessly and agrees to invite the girl, though he's not sure if she'll accept since she's a well-known presenter. His aunt returns, smiling mysteriously, and assures him that he doesn't need to worry. She has already spoken with the girl's mother and the girl will definitely come to dinner tonight. The next morning, the cousin takes Yang's phone with a mischievous smile and tells him to invite the girl named Sun on a date. She confidently says that she knows the perfect way to win a girl's heart. Their aunt laughs and warns jokingly that if Sun turns out to be a bad girl and breaks Yang's heart, she will personally deal with her. The cousin rolls her eyes and tells her mother not to be distracted from cooking and to focus on the meal instead. The girl then scrolls through Sun's previous messages and shakes her head in disbelief, saying she sent so many texts but all she received were short replies like hey hey. She wonders aloud why Sun acts so indifferent. Yang laughs quietly and asks if she has told anyone about his blind date. The cousin gives him back the phone and says she's starting to think Sun might not be a good person, so he should be careful. Just then, their aunt comes in holding a pan of hot sauce and announces proudly that dinner is ready. Yang's eyes light up as the smell fills the room and the woman smiles warmly, saying she even made an extra portion so he can take it home later. Suddenly, a soft beep from his phone catches everyone's attention. The cousin picks it up from the table and reads the message aloud. It's from Sun, who agrees to have dinner with Yang at the Baogali Hotel. The cousin gasps, saying that place is way too fancy for a first date. The aunt frowns and tells Yang that he doesn't have to go. It's too expensive, and he should not waste his money. But Yang smiles calmly and says she shouldn't worry since he earns well now. And besides, it's only dinner. He encourages them to eat before the food gets cold. That evening, Yang arrives at the elegant Baogali Hotel and sits quietly at a table, checking his phone again and again. 1 hour passes, but Sun still hasn't arrived. Growing restless, he thinks that if she didn't plan to come, she shouldn't have agreed in the first place. Feeling both irritated and embarrassed, he finally sends her a message, saying he has been waiting for an hour. After a few minutes, Sun replies that her phone battery died and that she's already on her way. Yang sighs in frustration and types back that he is leaving now, adding that she shouldn't bother coming. He leans back annoyed, thinking about all the money he wasted on her the night before. Looking at the expensive dishes on the table, he realizes that his aunt's home-cooked food tastes much better. A waitress walks by and Yang politely calls her over. She comes with a professional smile and asks what he needs. Yang asks her to warm up the food he brought with him from home, surprising her completely. At a nearby table, a couple starts whispering and giggling, assuming that Yang is too poor to afford the restaurant's food. The waitress tries to stay polite but says they don't provide that kind of service. Yang remains calm and offers to buy their most expensive bottle of wine if she warms his food. The couple at the next table suddenly stops laughing, shocked that he can afford something so costly. The waitress quickly agrees, takes his food and promises to bring everything soon. While Yang waits, sipping his wine, the entrance door opens, and to his surprise, Sun walks in, arm in arm with another man. His face hardens as he silently watches them. He feels thankful that he never sent her his photo. Unfortunately, his relief disappears when Sun's eyes meet his. She looks startled to see him still sitting there, and Yang immediately realizes that his aunt must have sent her his picture. The man beside Sun smirks and asks if Yang is her ex-boyfriend. Sun quickly explains that he is the man she was supposed to meet for a blind date. The man laughs mockingly and says they should all get to know each other better. He walks toward Yang and asks if he can sit with them, but Yang coldly refuses. Unbothered, the man sits nearby, claiming he just wants to watch their blind date. Sun blushes awkwardly and tells him not to make jokes like that. But then she glances at the time and asks if the man doesn't have to compete with someone called Arcane Star tonight. At that moment, Yang suddenly realizes with surprise that this arrogant man is none other than Smoking when alone, the same rival he competed with during the streaming battle. The man looks at Yang and asks mockingly if he really plans to go on a date with Sun. Yang replies calmly that he doesn't see any reason for it since there's no point in pretending to like each other. The man bursts out laughing and, still holding Sun by the shoulders, says that Yang made a wise choice. Sitting down at his table with a smug smile, he asks Sun if their date is now officially cancelled. Sun crosses her arms and says that she only agreed to meet because their mothers are friends, and she would never fall in love with a man like him. The man chuckles, saying that honesty suits her, and tells her to order whatever she wants. When Sun asks teasingly if he is really going to have another donation competition with Secret Star, the man laughs proudly and says she doesn't need to worry since he has already prepared 10 million for tonight's battle. Sun's eyes widen in admiration, and she calls him amazing, saying that no one else could spend money so boldly. At that moment, the waitress brings back Yang's food, now warm and smelling delicious. Just as she sets it down, two young girls enter the restaurant, one of them holding a selfie stick while the other speaks to the camera in an excited voice. They seem to be streaming live. The girl with the stick looks around and then walks directly toward Yang's table, asking politely if he is free to talk for a moment. Yang frowns slightly, thinking she must be another streamer looking for content. When she asks if she can sit with him, he refuses firmly, saying he wants to eat quietly. The girl ignores the rejection and leans closer, saying that he looks very young and has a calm face. Suddenly, she notices his slightly large ears and giggles, saying they look cute. Without warning, she reaches out and tries to touch them. Yang immediately pushes her hand away and says sternly that if she tries that again, he will report her for harassment. The girl freezes, taken aback by his serious tone. She whispers under her breath that he's too arrogant and that if it weren't for the streaming script, she would never have approached him. The second girl beside her, who is also part of the stream, suddenly starts crying and says that Yang is being too harsh. Surprised and embarrassed, Yang stares at her, not understanding how things escalated so fast. The girl sniffles and says they are just small-time streamers trying to make a living, asking him to be more understanding. Feeling awkward, Yang sighs and tells her to stop crying. He then asks which platform they stream on. The girl wipes her tears and replies that she works on the Teasing Fish platform. Yang nods and asks if she depends on donations. The girl says yes, it's her only source of income. Yang glances towards Sun's table where the confident streamer is laughing, and tells the girl that if she really wants help, she should challenge Sun to a streaming battle. The girl hesitates, saying that Sun has 2 big donors from last night, so she can't possibly win. Yang answers firmly that if she wants his support, she must take the risk and start the battle, otherwise, he won't help her at all. The girl, nervous but encouraged, finally agrees. Yang calls for the bill and the waitress politely tells him the total is 259,000 yuan. The small streamers are stunned, whispering that he must have ordered something extravagant. But the waitress explains that he barely ordered any food. Most of the amount is from the 2 bottles of wine he bought earlier. Hearing this, the girl's expression changes. Realizing how rich Yang might be, she straightens up with new confidence, thinking that if she wins his favor, she could gain fame and fortune. She quickly challenges Sun's streamer, a confident woman in white high heels, who looks at her with a smirk. Sun glances at the girl and asks coldly if she's really doing this. The newcomer nods and says she's also a streamer and wants to battle her live on air. Sun bursts into laughter, asking if she even knows who she's dealing with. The girl shakes her head and asks who the man beside her is. With a proud smile, Sun leans closer and announces for everyone to hear. "This man is my best donor, Smoking when alone." The man looks at the girl with a smile and asks what her streaming nickname is, adding that if he has time he might visit her channel and send her some donations too. The girl is startled by his sudden kindness but politely thanks him and refuses, saying she cannot accept such help. Then she turns to Sun, the confident streamer, and asks if she agrees to the streaming battle. Sun lets out a mocking laugh and asks if the girl wants to steal her audience. Her tone is full of arrogance as she glances toward the man beside her, silently expecting his support. The streamer then turns to the man and asks if he will help her. The man looks pleased that she is depending on him and nods confidently, saying that he will handle everything. The girl glances toward Yang, wondering if she can really trust him. Sun notices her nervous look and smirks, asking if she only started this battle because Yang told her to. The man laughs loudly and says that Yang looks like a simple office worker and that only a fool would take his words seriously. He adds that while the girl may look cute, she must be pretty naive to believe such a stranger. Hearing this, the girl clenches her fists in anger and says that the man has no right to insult her personally, demanding that the streamer answer clearly whether she accepts the challenge or not. The man, still grinning, tells Sun to accept it and boasts that he will bankrupt Yang within minutes. Feeling confident, the streamer finally agrees to participate and the girl sets the time for 10 o'clock in the evening. When they turn back to look at Yang, they realize he has already disappeared from the restaurant without anyone noticing. The girl frowns, confused and anxious, wondering if he left because he was only joking or if he truly meant to help. Her friend with the selfie stick shrugs and says they have already recorded enough content for the day, so they should head home. As night falls over the city, stars glitter softly above Yang's villa. Inside, Yang is fast asleep, his phone still clutched loosely in his hand. After some time, he wakes suddenly, thinking he has overslept, and quickly grabs his phone. Seeing that the battle has already begun, he opens the live stream at once. On the screen, both girls are already performing, and the lively audience is filling the chat with comments. The confident streamer, Sun, notices that Yang has joined and greets him warmly, smiling as she says that now she will definitely win since her old friend is here. But to her shock, Yang taps the rocket icon on his phone and sends the gift not to her but to her rival, the same girl from before. The crowd explodes in surprise and the shy girl's eyes widen in disbelief. She thanks him sincerely and asks why he chose to help her. Yang replies calmly that it doesn't matter, and he just wants her to sing the song The Lone Warrior. He adds that if she sings it well, he will keep sending her gifts. Grateful and excited, the girl takes her microphone and starts singing with emotion, her voice trembling at first but growing stronger as the chat fills with encouraging words. Sun becomes furious as her viewers start to switch sides. She walks to the man and begs him to send her more gifts, saying that she cannot lose this competition. Meanwhile, Yang sits quietly watching, his fingers tapping the screen to send more rockets to the girl. The girl finishes the song and smiles softly, asking what else he would like to hear. Yang replies teasingly that in the restaurant, she was very bold and flirty, so she should now show everyone that same confidence on stream. The girl suddenly realizes that Yang is the mysterious donor known as Arcane Star, and everyone begins asking if she really met him in person at the hotel, or if they are dating. The girl quickly denies it, saying that their meeting was only by chance. She explains that he asked her to challenge the battle because he wanted to support her. And then Sun, the confident streamer, freezes as she realizes that this quiet man is actually the powerful donor who competed against Smoking When Alone. Yang turns to the chat and addresses Smoking When Alone directly, saying with a smile that he should continue sending gifts because he wants to give him a fair head start. Then, suddenly, a new message appears from Smoking When Alone himself. It says that he will stop donating and that he is done. The chat erupts with confusion, and before anyone can react, the girl says she received a private message from him. She claims that Smoking offered to deliberately lose to Yang and even invited him to a private room, promising that Sun would meet him there in person. Sun jumps up in shock, shouting that it is a lie. She insists that the photo shown is fake and that they are trying to frame her. Sun keeps staring at the phone screen in shock, insisting again and again that the photo shown on the stream is fake. Her voice trembles as she tries to convince the audience that she is being framed. Just then, a man walks up behind her. It is the same arrogant man, Smoking When Alone. He wraps his arms tightly around her shoulders and with a mocking smile, tells her not to humiliate herself by explaining to those losers. He says that while other men can only dream about girls like her, he can easily win beautiful women whenever he wants. Sun struggles in his grip, pushing against his chest and shouting for him to let her go. He ignores her cries and pulls her even closer, whispering that after all the money he spent on her, he deserves a few privileges. Terrified, the girl pleads again, asking him to release her and begging him to stop the live broadcast. But the man laughs cruelly and turns toward the camera, saying to Yang that his blind date is in his arms now and that he will do whatever he wants with her. Before he can say anything more, the room's door bursts open with a loud crash. 3 men in black suits rush inside, their faces serious. The man freezes in surprise and demands to know what's going on. Without answering, one of the newcomers swiftly grabs his arm, and the others pull out handcuffs and tie him up. Sun, still trembling, asks what's happening, and one of the men calmly replies that the man is being detained for embezzling public funds. He adds that she will need to come along for questioning as a witness. A tall man in a black suit approaches her gently and asks her to turn off the stream and follow them. The terrified girl quickly ends the live broadcast, and the screen on Yang's phone suddenly goes black. For a moment, he just sits there in silence, trying to process what he just saw. Then, his phone rings. It's his aunt. Surprised that she's calling so late, he answers. The worried woman says that her friend scolded her, saying that her daughter was arrested because of him and she wants to know what's going on. Yang calmly explains that the man she admired, smoking when alone, was caught for misusing government money, and the streamer was taken only for questioning. He assures her that everything is fine. Hearing this, his aunt sighs in relief, thanks him, and hangs up. The next morning, the sun is bright and Yang starts another day of work. He receives a new order and drives toward a residential complex. Parking near the gate, he calls the passenger to let her know he has arrived. A gentle voice answers, asking him to wait a few minutes. 10 minutes later, she still hasn't appeared, so he calls again. The girl sounds flustered and admits she doesn't know where she is exactly. Yang asks her to describe her surroundings, and she says she's near Building 30 and that she has a seminar soon, so she must hurry. Yang walks inside the complex, looking around carefully. Soon, he spots a girl sitting on a small path, holding her phone against her chest with tears in her eyes. He walks up and asks kindly if she was the one who called a taxi. The girl nods shyly and apologizes. Yang offers his hand, saying gently that she shouldn't cry and that he will help her. Finally, she stands up, and they go to the car together. Once inside, Yang reminds her to buckle up and says they are heading to the Minghai Hotel. On the way, the girl complains that drivers usually cancel after waiting only a few minutes. Yang smiles and tells her not to blame them, as no one could have guessed she would get lost in her own complex. Embarrassed, the girl laughs softly and admits that she has a terrible sense of direction. She introduces herself as Yuan Zhao and says she writes web novels under the pen name Zhao Lian. Yang is surprised and says he reads online novels too, asking for her pseudonym so he can subscribe and support her work. The girl giggles, saying that she writes romance stories that a guy like him might not enjoy. Yang jokes that he might like them anyway and mentions that he still has plenty of virtual currency to spend. When they reach the hotel, Yuan Zhao thanks him warmly, saying that she will contact him later and asking if he can pick her up when she's done. Yang agrees with a smile, and the girl walks away toward the bright hall of the hotel. Curious, Yang opens his phone, searches for her account, and clicks subscribe. Inside the hotel, the atmosphere is festive. Balloons float near the ceiling, and lights shimmer around the stage. A woman stands in the center of the hall holding a microphone. Suddenly, Yuan Zhao's phone buzzes with a notification. Congratulations on receiving the Golden Sponsorship Leader Prize worth 10,000 yuan. She freezes for a second, her eyes widening, and this is where our story ends.